What is up, my good people? We are here in Miami, Florida, and a very, very warm welcome to each and every single one of you, to my Indiana Hoosier fans, to Miami Hurricane fans, to my college football fans, to my people that are just going to the game because the event, it has been crazy. It's been amazing. This experience in South Beach has been one for the ages. I will never forget it. So there are so many things to talk about. Wake Up Call is live this morning to start off your week, and I appreciate your patience here this morning as we are ready to bring you the College Football Playoff National Championship, the culmination of the 2025-26 season, right here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, all day long and hopefully all week long, and hopefully throughout this entire season. You've been following us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, and Instagram at wakeupcall_DT. We come to you today from the Travel Great Lakes Honda City Studios, and what a perfect way to have our studio partner because you get on the road with them. So head over to Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Find your next ride. And maybe some of you drove down to Miami, and Great Lakes Honda City is the perfect place. Every different type of vehicle and just a fantastic experience all the way around at Great Lakes Honda City, be it the Pilot, the Ridgeline, the CRV, the HRV, the Civic, the Accord, whatever you're looking for, you'll find it all at Great Lakes Honda City. You can get a sneak peek at greatlakeshondacity.com. We're up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe with you on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. So however you're connected with the show, thank you so much for tuning in with us. And like I said, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, we've gotten to go live on site, on location from a lot of different places throughout my career. And I am so honored and privileged to go live from Miami, Florida for the first time ever to be able to bring this to you. We've been bringing you content all throughout these last few days. I was at Media Day for the College Football Playoff National Championship, and we're going to share those Q&As with you. I got to speak with both head coaches at Media Day and at their final press conference leading into the game. I also had the opportunity to speak with the offensive and defensive coordinators of both teams and student athletes, including their star quarterbacks, Fernando Mendoza of Indiana and Carson Beck of Miami. So all of that's going to come up in our coverage of the College Football Playoff today from Miami, Florida. And I want to thank Miami and their hospitality. I want to thank the amazing media headquarters hotel that we have, the fantastic food. I've never been in a place where we have media hospitality, awesome food experience, and literally you walk outside from dining and there's a rooftop pool on the 19th floor, and here I am sitting out right next to a rooftop pool and a building that looks like Avengers Tower, and you can't see it from where I'm stationed right now, but I am literally right to my right looking out, and I'm seeing the water. It's beautiful. The day's sunny. The water's blue. The sky is blue. We are ready for a national championship here in Miami, Florida. And I am once again, the state of Florida, the second hub of Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. I can't thank you enough, Florida, for loving me, welcoming me, and being a part of my history of broadcasting dating all the way back to 2009. So thank you for that, and God bless to everybody. With that being said, you know it's a Monday, so Murph is here with me on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and he's going to come in picture as we get this conversation started on the 2026 College Football Playoff National Championship from Miami, Florida, featuring the Indiana Hoosiers, who are undefeated up to this point of the Big Ten, and the Miami Hurricanes, who lost 2 games this season against, in my opinion, pretty good teams, definitely SMU, and they have advanced all the way to the national championship game. They have a home game, but they are the road team in this matchup. They're the 10 seed, Indiana's the 1 seed. Murphalation Station, happy to be here with you. We have a ton of things to talk about. This is wall-to-wall college football playoff coverage on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from Miami inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Murph, how we doing?
I'm doing great, my friend. Looking forward to a phenomenal college football playoff championship game tonight. And little weird to be doing a show on a holiday. We typically take the holidays off, but we could not miss this one
Yeah.
with with the huge with the big game tonight. So we had to make sure that we brought you guys a show today.
Yeah, that was something that I thought about. I never used to take holidays off because I just get after it. I mean, that's how I've always been. I remember telling my bosses at the last radio station I was at, I was like, I'll come in on Christmas, and he's like, nobody's gonna be here. And I was like, well, I'll come in, I'll do it. Like, I'll be here for the show if you want me to be, and this and that. And now I actually take holidays off to try and enjoy that time, as many of you are. But I'm happy. I'm happy to be here today. I couldn't miss this. I couldn't miss the opportunity. We've been able to go live from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I've done content from the Bahamas. We've done things in Mexico as well. And I mean, all over the great state of Florida. I've been able to broadcast from the Northeast. We've been out Midwest. We've done some things out in San Diego on the West Coast in California. I did a live broadcast with my dad from Phoenix, Arizona during the World Series in 2023. So, Wake Up Call, which, we're based in my hometown of Syracuse, New York. We've had the opportunity to travel the country and the world and be live with you. So that has been huge. I hope you've all seen my content. I got a lot of things to get into, a lot of things to talk about, and we're going to be putting up some stuff and letting you all see it today. So there's more to come, and of course this show is going to have a lot of it, Murph. I don't know if you've seen any of it, but we had a media party last night. Never experienced this before in my life. I was on not a yacht. I've never been on a yacht, I don't think. I was on a mega yacht for a media party, hors d'oeuvres, TV, fireworks, music, being outside. So enjoyed last night on a yacht, went to the media, of course the media day, and got to be around the players, and the fans were there and yelling out Hoosiers. So I got to hear that again, which I know people have been excited about the Hoosiers and obviously excited about the Canes. Last night, the city of Miami, a bunch of buildings were lit up in orange and green for Miami. There was a beautiful building that was like orange and green and orange, and like almost the entire building was really cool. And of course, we had the opportunity to go out to the practice for Indiana. I got to see Indiana's practice. I'm going to be sharing something with that today. So a
I saw
lot.
someone on TikTok actually post a video of the, I don't want to say motorcade, but
Yeah.
the buses driving from University of Indiana to the airport in Indianapolis the other day, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, and I actually had a video and pictures of the buses when they came in to practice. They were at Florida International at FIU. That's where Indiana practiced. Miami, I know people might be, confused by this or might be strange. Miami practiced at Miami, and so not not everybody
Naturally.
gets.
I
Which
mean,
is
why wouldn't
yeah,
they?
right. I was being facetious there, but yeah, they got to practice at home, and I didn't have the opportunity to go to that practice because they left before Media Day was over. They were the first at Media Day, then they switched to Indiana, and then they left before Indiana was done. So I would have loved to go, but they said it was also really quick. They didn't show anything, just stretching, walking around. They said as soon as they told the media to leave, they blew the whistle and started going after it. So Indiana actually showed us more. I got a hype video for Indiana. I'm going to be sharing that with you all. But in Miami's case, I had them entering Media Day. So I got their entrance for that, and then to, kind of equal that out, I have Indiana, a lot of practice footage and really cool footage. So I'm going to be sharing that in a video today after the show. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And all the Q&As that you see on the show today, those are all going to be added as their own individual videos if they haven't been already. They'll be on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT, and they will be on YouTube's channel, youtube.com/Wake Up Call DT. So we said wall-to-wall college football playoff coverage, but there is something I want to get to. Murph sent me a message here this morning during the show, instantaneously. There's a lot of things I've gotten to cover with us having a live morning show, and I can't thank God enough for the opportunity. I go back to being able to be the live show on the weekend when Syracuse joined the ACC. and I got to bring that to you. And there's a lot of things that I've gotten to break live, and I thank God for it because the timing always lined up. But I'm never happy to talk about a coach being fired. I said going in, and I thought about this yesterday. I was like, man, like I'm not happy of this, and I think I want to be clear. Not I think I want to be clear. I want to be clear that I'm not happy to ever cover the firing of a coach. Now, if a coach hits a player or they cheat on their wife or something like that, like I don't wish bad on anybody ever, even if bad situations happen. I'm in those moments, I'm like, okay, you broke the law or you were immoral, then yeah, it's probably time to go. But I had made the statement going into the postseason, and I didn't want this to be any type of, energy going toward this individual at all. I just thought in my head, they've brought it up a bunch of times. He hasn't won. He's had the talent. It's beyond frustrating. And now we're talking about what, like 5 years that people have had high hopes in a row. So Sean McDermott.
More than that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely at least the last 4 or 5 years that people thought Super Bowl contender. And Sean McDermott has been fired this morning by the Buffalo Bills. I said going into the NFL playoffs this year, if they don't win, I could see Sean McDermott immediately being put on the hot seat in the conversation, and it happened this morning, Murph. So, your thoughts?
Yeah, I saw that pop up. I didn't know. I know we wanted to talk, wall to wall college football, and I'll keep it brief because I know we want to get as much into this game as we possibly can. I'm not entirely surprised. I mean, to me, this was Josh Allen's easiest road to the Super Bowl, and they didn't get there. And realistically, now the Patriots are going to have the easiest road to the Super Bowl because no Jarrett Stidham next week, and they're essentially going to walk to San Francisco into the Super Bowl. But seeing Sean McDermott getting let go by the Bills, I'm not completely surprised. You're right; he hasn't won anything. It seemingly just the Bills aren't taking that next step with Sean McDermott, and I don't know who they're going to hire as their coach. We've seen Joe Brady get called for a lot of head coach openings. I think he could be a logical choice to keep the offense the same and maybe just have a new face in the building. He's a guy that's probably been a guy you'd want as a head coach for a while,
Yeah.
and just hasn't gotten his chance yet. But maybe they call the Steelers about Tomlin. Maybe they make a move there and see if Tomlin wants to come out. Honestly, if Harbaugh didn't go to the Giants, I think it would be a shoo-in that he would have been going to Buffalo. But nobody saw this coming.
Yeah.
In terms of the coaches that are available at the moment. So the Bills obviously are going to be getting a late start to the party, but we'll see who they go with. I know they're going to make a good hire. They're going to be good next year. They always are. But I said at the beginning of the offseason, if Josh Allen doesn't go to the Super Bowl this year or win a Super Bowl this year, I don't know that he's ever going to do it. And this was their easiest path, and they still could not get it done. I wish they would have lost last week for your sake. But, I guess I guess they just like playing in the divisional round and, losing to the Denver Broncos in this case after losing to the Chiefs in the divisional round, what, 3 or 4 times in the last half decade?
Well, Bills fans, you've gotten. I mean, I'm not surprised at all. I just put up a poll while Murph was talking about Sean McDermott. Literally put it up instantaneously on X, the former Twitter, at CallDT, CALLDT. Follow us there and vote in our polls. We've already had, within 1 minute, almost 100 people see this post, get involved, and it's 50-50. I said, do you agree or disagree with the Buffalo Bills firing of head coach Sean McDermott? And it was 50-50. Now it is 60-40 that you don't agree with this firing. So we'll see how these come in. Bills fans have responded immediately. I'm not surprised. Bills Mafia is very passionate. And so, I have a lot of close friends, including, Jim Rashikowski and Mark Walzik and, of course, my guy Cookie and whatnot and John Ball from Marywood. So I know that there's going to be a lot of people with opinions about this situation, and I'm going to look forward to hearing your opinions and what you have to say about this, because this is a very, I mean, am I surprised? No. But like Murph said, they're coming late to the party, and now they have to kind of rush and scramble to find their leader when a bunch of these other teams have already had an opportunity to hold their interviews, finalizing interviews, being done with them, hiring coaches. We saw that the coach, John Harbaugh, who I was surprised that Baltimore would even allow this to happen, but let him go out there and let him go after 18 seasons. And with him not being the head coach anymore, I thought that he would get phone calls. He got phone calls. They stated that almost immediately, allegedly, he had phone calls from a bunch of different teams. He's a New York Giant now. I think it's one of the best hires the New York, arguably is the best hire the New York Giants have had since Tom Coughlin, in my opinion. And, you know, John Harbaugh is not an old guy. He can do this thing all day, Captain America, and he's going to have the opportunity to continue to move his career forward. Keep in mind that if Tyler Loop makes a field goal, he's in the playoffs. The last 3 seasons, his team has had 10 or more wins. They've had 13 wins in those seasons. They've had 12 wins in those seasons. He's won a Super Bowl. And, I mean, if you go back and look at the coaching record and break it down of John Harbaugh, he's one of those guys that you can't imagine a team would let go. Now, listen, if he's at a point where he thinks, you know, this has become stale, I need a change of scenery, we're not getting anywhere in Baltimore, you know, things have kind of just hit a wall, then I understand. If Baltimore feels that way, then I understand. But you have to understand, with Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh and John Harbaugh in Baltimore, these are 2 coaches over 37 years combined in the NFL. Tomlin's only coached with the Steelers as a head coach. John Harbaugh's only been a head coach with the Ravens. And when you look at both of their histories, you think to yourself, these guys are not fireable based on normal standards, but they rose the standard. They rose the bar. There's something, and I've talked about this before, you become a victim of your own success. Because you have raised it so high, fans are not looking for 10-win seasons. Fans are not looking to get into the playoffs. Fans are not looking to win a division. They're looking to win a Super Bowl every year because of what you've done. And so, you know, John Harbaugh having 3 out of 4 of the last seasons here in the NFL, getting to 10 wins or more, one of those being 13, one of those being 12, and a missed field goal of going to the playoffs and winning the division again this year. People don't care about that because they're saying, you know, you have Lamar Jackson. You should make it to the AFC Championship game. You should make it to the Super Bowl. You should win a Super Bowl if you have a healthy Lamar Jackson. Mike Tomlin has had numerous quarterbacks. I mean, people, you have to think about this. Since Ben Roethlisberger, it has been literally like the musical chairs of quarterback. They've had Kenny Pickett. They've had Mason Rudolph. They have had Josh Dobbs multiple times. They've had Aaron Rodgers. You're bringing in all these different guys after Ben Roethlisberger to try. You had Justin Fields to try and be the next guy, and the next
Russell
guy,
Wilson.
right, and they had Russell Wilson recently. So you have all these guys that come in, and nobody's really been the right fit for Pittsburgh. And so for Mike Tomlin, and they didn't say fired in his case, they said stepping down, and maybe they told him that he could use that language because, listen, he's earned the right to leave when he wants to leave, not when somebody tells him to. So, but I mean, if he doesn't coach this year, which now you have this job open up in Buffalo, do you call Mike Tomlin even to just hear him say no?
Well, the Steelers still own him. They would have to. The Bills would have to give up a draft pick to get Mike Tomlin if that's the case.
Well, and with
But
Mike Tomlin,
his contract runs through the end of this coming season. So after this season, then a team can just hire him.
And more of you are saying no than yes right now, by the way. Do you agree or disagree with the Bills' firing of head coach Sean McDermott?
I'm not surprised.
33% agree, 67% disagree. So you Buffalo fans are very passionate, but also not hating on your head coach this morning, or your former head coach, I should say, as of this morning. But, yeah, I mean, to go back to Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh, I mean, Murph, listen, we're We're living in a world where Baltimore fans are spoiled and Pittsburgh Steeler fans are spoiled. And so now it's like, well, you won a Super Bowl, but you did it a bunch of years ago. Some coaches never get to a Super Bowl. Some coaches never win a Super Bowl. A lot of coaches don't win divisions. A lot of coaches don't have 10-win seasons. A lot of coaches don't have multiple 10-win seasons. A lot of coaches don't have more winning seasons than losing seasons. And let me hit you with some knowledge. John Harbaugh hasn't had a lot of losing seasons. And if he has, they've been like by the equator line in most cases, except for one, which I think they were 5-11, and that was a while back. Mike Tomlin never had a losing season in 19 seasons. He had 16 winning seasons and 3.
He was never even 500.
No, he's had 3 500. So he's had.
Has he had 3 500? I didn't think he was ever 5. I thought he was always over 500.
He's had 16 of his 19 seasons with the Steelers winning seasons. The 3 that were not winning seasons, he was 8-8. So he never had a losing season in almost 2 decades with a team. Name a coach that has done that in the last 20 years besides Mike Tomlin. So
I'll wait.
You know, right. And they said that he might step away and he might take a year off and kind of gauge and think about it. Allegedly, he has an opportunity to go on the broadcasting side. But, you know, I don't want to see Mike Tomlin be like Bill Cowher, where he was in the coaching cycle for 2 or 3 years and his name kept being brought up. And I was actually at Dolphins training camp when he wasn't with the Steelers anymore, and he was down there. And I'm like, why is he here? And I was thinking to myself, like, is he going to be the new head coach? And then, you know, that washed away. And I don't want to see that happen with Mike Tomlin. I'd love to see him coach somewhere else and at least give it another year or 2, because I've just loved seeing him as a coach. But, I mean, him and John Harbaugh were the granddaddies, and now they're not. I mean, these were the 2 longest tenured coaches, and now we're not seeing that between the 2 of them. Like I said, almost 4 decades of coaching in the NFL and winning in the NFL more often than not. So, I mean, it's sad to see. John Harbaugh has a job. We'll see if Mike Tomlin takes this year off and then figures things out for next season. But Sean McDermott is no longer the head coach of the Buffalo Bills, and I can't say I'm surprised. And like I said, going into the playoffs, I said it. I said, Sean McDermott, if they don't win this year, I think he immediately gets put on the chopping block. And the Bills brought the gavel down, and he's not the coach, and I'm sad for him. It's weird. He was there for a really long time, but now that he's not there, it feels like he wasn't there that long. And
yeah,
I just hope the best for Buffalo. I feel terrible for the team. And, you know, Josh could not be more of a human being, showing his emotion and just being real. And it stinks. It really stinks for Buffalo. It stinks for the city. And it was pass interference in the end zone on Denver. He slowed him twice. And the interception thing was such a weird play. And then obviously, you know, the Bills did commit pass interference themselves on the next drive. And just a terrible way to end the game where it was officiating. And Sean McDermott wanted them to look at it. And they look at everything. And the fact that he called a timeout to try and get them to look at it, and they still didn't look at it. So I question the officiating crew on not looking at that interception because of how
aren't they supposed to look at every touch, scoring play, and turnover, no matter what?
Yeah, I mean, and you would think within 2 minutes you look at things. You would think that in overtime you look at things. I mean,
unless New York confirmed it.
Well, no matter what, an officiating crew in a play like that, in a game like this, in a high-stakes situation, in overtime, you would normally see a crew take 10 minutes on this thing, and they didn't take really any time on it. So I do challenge that. I do question that. I can say that and not get fined because I'm not a coach. So I will second Sean McDermott. I tell coaches all the time, tell me what your thoughts are, and if I agree with them, I'll say something respectfully, because I do respect officiating crews and I know a bunch of officials. But, yeah, I mean, that should have been reviewed. Any final notes you want to make? Because we are doing wall-to-wall college football playoff coverage from Miami, but we did want to touch on this because Sean McDermott, it happened this morning, and I'm sad about it. Yeah. I'm sad for Buffalo. Any final notes?
Yeah, really, I think, you know, Buffalo's going to now be, without question, the best job opening. You know, I thought the Giants were before any of this, and now, you know, I think the Buffalo Bills obviously will be the best coaching destination. So any of these top coaches in this cycle, I imagine if they were close on a deal with somebody else, they're going to wait and see what happens with Buffalo. Also would not be shocked if Sean McDermott gets another job in this coaching cycle. I would not be shocked if he's on a different sideline next year, whether that be, the Steelers or Ravens or, maybe one of those other middling teams. I do definitely think he will get a job somewhere in this coaching cycle if he wants it. If he wants to take a year off, he could take a year off, but it would not shock me one bit if he gets another job doing something somewhere, whether it's head coach or I think is he an offensive guy or a defensive guy?
McDermott is, I want to say,
I thought he was a defensive guy.
I want to say that he was on the defensive side of the ball. So
I think you're right.
Yeah, he was defensive coordinator. Yeah, so yeah, he was on
That's
the
what I
defensive
thought.
side.
So, like, I don't know where potentially he could get, a new job, but, whoever hires him, he's still a good coach.
Yeah.
I think it just came down to, we're not winning. We got to change something. You're not, we're not saying that you were a bad coach for us. We just feel it's time to try something different. All right? Like if
Yeah.
if it once if you try something once, if you try something multiple times and it doesn't work, you got to change something. So, you're not getting rid of your quarterback.
No.
You're not getting, your GM's put together a pretty solid team, so you're gonna change the coach, and it's the nature of the beast in the NFL. But I think McDermott is still a good coach. He will probably still get a job somewhere this coaching cycle.
Yeah.
Obviously, he'll be a little late to the party interviewing, for jobs as well. But I do think a lot of teams and a lot of coaching searches will slow down simply because of this. I know Stefanski just went to the Falcons, right?
Yep.
Is where he's going to be coaching. Harbaugh's obviously going to the Giants. There's still a lot of coaching openings. Where will McDermott go? Who knows? Could it be one of Baltimore or the Steelers? Very well, possibly could be. Also, could be one of those teams that's, maybe not as good, and they want to make a big splash. And McDermott would still be a big splash because he's had been a coach that had a lot of success, even before Josh Allen. So, we'll see what happens there. But, Bills are going to be looking for a new coach, and we'll see kind of what happens there. I know Joe Brady potentially was in the running for some college openings as well, but maybe he's the front runner to get the Bills job. Who knows?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Wouldn't it be crazy if Buffalo called up Mike Tomlin and figured things out with the Steelers and said, "Hey,
That would not shock me one bit.
We're going to bring him in and we're going to do this thing and have Josh Allen be coached by Mike Tomlin." So we do know in this hiring cycle of the NFL, John Harbaugh is with the Giants after being let go by the Ravens. Kevin Stefanski is with the Falcons after being let go by the Browns. And outside of that, the Tennessee Titans are open to find their coach after Brian Callahan was let go during the season. The Giants let go Brian Daboll and obviously made the decision on John Harbaugh. The Falcons let go of Raheem Morris and now have Kevin Stefanski. The Browns' job is open. The Raiders' job is open after letting go of Pete Carroll. The Arizona Cardinals' job is open after letting go of Jonathan Gannon. The Baltimore Ravens' job is open with John Harbaugh not being there. Miami Dolphins is open down here in Miami as Wake Up Call goes live in Miami, and Hard Rock Stadium is the home of the Dolphins. Mike McDaniel is not on the sideline. There will be a new coach there. And now the Buffalo Bills with Sean McDermott. The Pete Carroll process only took, I think, less than a calendar year. So with that being said, we're going to take a step aside. We're talking wall-to-wall college football playoff with a little bit of NFL because obviously some moves are happening. There's
Breaking news, you kind of have to, you know.
There's a lot of things coming up here. My conversations, my Q&As with the Indiana Hoosiers and the Miami Hurricanes are coming up after this break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Do not miss a moment of our national championship coverage from Miami, Florida, in the college football playoff, right here where sports meets life. We are with you up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe. And I want to thank those of you that have watched, listened, and read from Sweden, from the United Kingdom, France, Spain, Canada, Mexico, as well as throughout the Middle East, Russia, China, Italy, and everywhere else that you have been. I cannot thank you enough. God bless to you all, and I thank the good Lord up above for giving me an experience unlike any other in my life of 40 years now and some change, and of course spending more than half of my life doing what I love and loving what I do as a broadcaster. We'll be back right after this inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Hang with us. A lot coming up from Miami.
And now a message from Myers Creek Brewing Company, with locations at their Cazenovia Farm Brewery, Syracuse Inner Harbor Tap Room, and soon-to-be Lake Placid Tap Room.
Well, I think first and foremost, the Feldmeyer family and our team are extremely passionate about what we do. We care very much about what we do. The Feldmeyer family is always investing. Our taproom management team, our brew management team, our marketing management team, and all of the team members that get after it every day, they leave it on the field. They put their heart and soul into it. I know for a fact that everyone that works at Myers Creek wants to be there, and we want them to be there. You know, we want them to feel good about their job. And again, if you've never been to a Myers Creek, especially to the brewery, I mean, I want your eyes to open really big. I want you to see how big of a brand this is. I want you to see where we're going. The sky is the limit, and I feel very proud of that, and I'm very excited about that. When you think of designing a menu for a brewery, it's kind of open to a lot of different interpretations. I mean, you can do American, you can do Asian, you can do Italian, and you just have to find, how that meets that pub style dining experience, that gastropub vibe. And I think it's super fun for us because obviously we know that, everyone in the world's going to sell a pizza or a burger or a french fry, but what can we do to be different? And what can we do to be true to who we are? We are a brewery, a brew pub. So the flavor profiles are kind of all over the place. And I think it's super cool that we have a massive smoker at the brewery in Cazenovia, and we smoke a lot of our products. We have a delicious smoked turkey. We have barbecue ribs on Sundays. From a pulled pork sandwich to a chicken wing, you go to the Inner Harbor and you go to the Caz location and you'll find similarities in the menu, but also things that are a little different and also kind of fit those different demographics or different communities, and also hopefully just drive you to try every tap room that we have open at some point because you get a little something different at each one. We understand how hard it is to, work every day and get after it every day, and when you're done at the end of your day, you want to go out and put your feet up in a good ambiance and good environment. So we take pride in that. We make sure that everyone knows that they're very much valued to us.
This is Jim Dispenza, owner of Game Point Sports Complex. You hear the same story across any sport that kids play and any sport that adults play. There's never enough places to play. That was definitely true with volleyball, definitely true with basketball. Could be cheerleading, it could be field hockey, which is what we're seeing now. Every sport has a lack of places to play, and I think Syracuse in particular is a place where it's really bad. Despite the fact that we've got a lot of athletic talent around here, we just seem to have not enough places for people to play, and they're going to different places. They're going to Rochester, they're going to, Buffalo. They're going all different places because we don't have a place here, and I felt like that should change. This was a long project from planning all the way through execution to opening the doors. A lot of work went into it, obviously a lot of money, a lot of resources, and the dream always was kids being in the gym, having a good time. And I've always felt like sports is the most unfiltered joy that you can observe with people that people can experience, because it is fun, it is a sense of accomplishment, it's all of that wrapped into one thing. And so watching kids going up and down the court with big smiles on their faces has been just amazing, an amazing experience. I'm looking forward to years to come of that same thing. We've taken the time to invest in multiple sports, and then what we're finding is the mere fact that we have a large, clean, well-lit space has opened a lot more doors for us beyond basketball, volleyball, pickleball. Now we're having some interest from cheerleading. We've got girls field hockey coming in, and then also there's quite a bit of room for spectators. We've got bleachers, we've got benches, we've got a concession lounge where people can get food and drinks. We're going to have multiple sports going at the same time, using every square inch of this place for what it was conceived for, which is basically people to come in, have a good time, in the sport that they prefer. We manage each situation differently. Everybody has different ability to afford different things. Some are bringing 10, 15 people, some are just 2 people. I've had a lot of situations where it's a father shooting around with his son, it's a mother playing pickleball with her daughter or with her son, and in those situations come up and we work with people, and that's allowed us to have groups from 2 people up to 30 people and have some flexible pricing behind it. We're an organization that is here to work with the community any way we can, and I guess part of it is just making sure that we have the flexibility to put together a plan that makes sense regardless of the size of your group. So in order to book time, the best option is to go to our website, gamepointsports-syr.com. You can click from there and sign up for events, sign up for your own particular training, sign up for birthday parties, all of that.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have at any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
And welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora here from Miami, Florida. I've been down in Miami for a bunch of days here, had the opportunity to experience Media Day and, of course, the head coach's press conference and a lot of things that I'll get into as we step forward. What do you think, Murph, inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios as Wake Up Call comes to you live from Miami? You want to see some interviews?
Hell yeah, I do.
So,
shoot.
So
I'm sorry.
No.
I've said much worse, not on the air, but still.
Right. Well,
This is a family show.
No, you're good. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with the Indiana Hoosiers, and then we'll go to the Miami Hurricanes. Plenty of interviews coming up, folks. So sit back, relax, and truly enjoy the broadcast here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. DT and Murphy coming to you to start off your week, as we always do Mondays from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, adding Miami, Florida, to the list of places where we've gotten to broadcast live, on site, on location. Your Indiana Hoosiers are up first, and your first gentleman that you'll hear my question and answer with, running back and 1,000-yard rusher, Roman Hemby.
Roman, when you look at the fact that you're a 1,000-yard back this season, K-Line could get to 1,000 yards in this national championship game, just what it's like to have that give and take between the two of you and the relationship that you have on and off the field, knowing that you have so much success on the field.
Oh yeah, when you look at our stats, I really just give a lot of credit to our offensive line. I really feel like we really been in that situation without them, and our receivers blocking downfield. We got great tight ends like Riley, who does a great job for us to kind of make it easy for us. But looking at our relationship, that's my brother. I love him to death, and he welcomed me with open arms when I came here about a year ago. We kind of want to have success for each other. We want to see each other succeed. I like to say we don't have any egos in the running back room. I want him to be successful just as much as he wants me to be successful. And we go out there every day with the mindset that we're going to play for one another, bounce off of one another, and do whatever we can to help our offense be successful.
What's your favorite thing about kind of his personality when you talk about K-Line?
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand by as the Hoosiers rotate podiums.
He has unconditional love type of thing. And he's just so knowledgeable. He's been in the game for a long time as well, like myself, and he has a lot of experience. So I would say outside of him just being a very cool person and a very cool dude, he helps me to be a better player and a better person just by his experience. He's been through a lot, so he knows a lot more than I do, and I know some things that he doesn't. So just having somebody that you can have in your corner to where they just want to see you succeed, they have the tools and the platforms to kind of help you get there, and you see the things that he's able to do on the field. It's very cool to try to emulate some of those things as well.
That coming from Roman Hemby, and he spoke on Kalon Black, who now speaks on Roman Hemby.
Kalon, when you look at your relationship with Roman Hemby, what's it like on and off the field with him, growing with him, and just how you essentially help each other win day in and day out?
Yeah, definitely, man. Roman's a great guy, man. Also a great running back, great person off the field as well. He's really easy to get along with, and I feel like we've done a great job together. Having someone like him in our running back room is a great leader. He's also vocal as well with our guys, and he does a great job just bringing everyone together and making sure everyone is on the same page. And I feel like being along with him in our running back room, man, us two together, man, it's just very fun to watch and also be a part of.
He told me that he likes to see, you both want to see each other succeed and do well. He has 1,000 yards. You could get there in this national championship game. So just your thoughts on that, having 2,000-yard backs potentially in Indiana this year.
Yeah, man, we have to give our thanks to the O-line for that, man. We already have 1,000-yard back, and I could potentially be the next one, man. That's just the goal, and that's just what we're aspiring to get. And I feel like we have a great O-line, great tight ends, great receivers to be able to do that.
What is it about Coach Cignetti that really speaks to this team, speaks to you? Just the way he goes about himself, his leadership. Why does it work for you?
His mind, man. He's honestly a freak. Like, the way that he watches and loves football is unreal, and it's really unheard of these days. Like, he spends all day watching film, but he also wants to make sure he takes care of his staff and his people and also the team. He does a great job of making sure everyone's on the same page, and that's honestly something that I can get behind. And I've been with him for so long to know the system, and it's never changed. And I feel like everywhere and each and every year, we've always won, regardless of the level. We started at FCS, we go to FBS at G5, and then now we're here at the P4 level doing big things, and it's just a testament to him and his system and his culture.
Why do you think that works the way that it does? Like you said, at every level, you've been with Curt Cignetti and you've had success. Why do you think that is?
Definitely, he brings in the right people. He brings in the right people to fit into his system, and everyone gets acclimated to it, and everyone always gets better from it each and every year.
Been with them since they were in the FCS, then going to the FBS. Speaking of James Madison, so he believed in Curt Cignetti during COVID, went through that process, gained another year of eligibility because anybody that was on campus gained a year of eligibility when it came to if you were playing between 2020-21 season. So he was with him at the FCS level, then the FBS level at James Madison, and now at Indiana, and he has 961 yards going into the national championship game and has the opportunity to be a 1,000-yard back with just 39 yards needed. Speaking of Kalon Black, and his teammate Roman Hemby already at 1,000. More to come from Kalon right here on Wake Up Call.
Well, Kalon, for you, I know you talked a little bit about Fernando Mendoza and just his leadership. What is it about his cadence, about him in the huddle, those things that not everybody sees when the game's close, you need a play? What is it about the way he does what he does that just makes sure that this team gets into the end zone, gets that victory, and up to this point is undefeated?
Yeah, he starts every drive pointing to the Lord, because without him, we can't do anything. And then his calmness, his poise to every single play, whether it's a sack or whether it's a 10, 15, 20-yard game. And honestly, that's the big thing. You have to have those poise and those big moments. And I feel like throughout season, we've had those big moments to live up to it and step up to it. And I feel like Fernando's done a great job of making sure everyone is calm and making sure everyone can think, regardless of the noise and everything like that.
Just mentioning your faith and his faith, what does that mean to you? How does that drive you? How does that center you in those moments of adversity?
It means a lot to me, man. And knowing who our Lord is and who Jesus Christ is, you know that through him you can do anything and you can serve up to any moment. There's nothing that you can't do without him, and those are one of the things that we both believe in. We have a lot of guys on the team who believe in, and those are just one of the things that keep us going.
That coming from Kalon Black, speaking on his faith, which I always appreciate above everything else. Isaiah Jones, now here with us, the linebacker, to speak on Indiana's fan base, which I didn't know this, but now a lot of people in the nation, myself included, and in the world know this. They have the largest alumni fan base in the country, and they have shown up to the games. I experienced it at the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, where it was about 95% Indiana to 5% Oregon. Here's what Isaiah Jones had to say about those supporters, those of you that are watching and listening right now.
Down at the Peach Bowl, I think it was like 95% Indiana and 5% Oregon. Rose Bowl, and then we're hearing that it could be a little bit more Indiana than Miami in Miami. What is it about this fan base that you feel like they travel everywhere, they give you that support? What is it about them that makes them so special?
Yeah, I mean, this fan base, this is a long time coming for them. So, there might be, fans that have had season tickets for 40 years. And so I think, just being at this opportunity where we are now, I don't think anyone would miss it for the world. So I think, having, them at the Rose Bowl where it felt like a home game, I didn't know if it could get better than that. The Peach Bowl is the loudest stadium I've ever played in my life. Being out there underneath my helmet was shaking. They were so loud. So I'm excited to see them show. I know they're going to travel well to this Miami game. And I think it's going to be a statement that it's in Miami, and I still think we're going to have, a very decent amount of Indiana Hoosier fans.
And Isaiah, for you, when you look at the offense of Miami, you look at Carson, back the weapons that they have, Mark Fletcher, C.J. Daniels, Malachi Toney. What do you see from them on film and what this matchup could potentially be on Monday?
Yeah, it all starts up front in the trenches. You have to win the line of scrimmage, and that's something that we, pride ourselves in. And you can tell that they pride themselves in that as well. They run the ball well, and that gives them success to be able to sling it out to the perimeter and let Malachi Toney and some of those receivers that are skilled make plays. For us, it's back to our day one game plan to stop the run, and then after that, we can kind of open up the playbook. But I think you're going to see, a really good offensive line, there's a really physical defense, and it's going to be a really good game to watch.
When you look at kind of traditional football is running the ball well, like you said, in the trenches, and then playing that stout defense, we're getting two teams that do that very well. So just what you could say to that, the fact that the culmination of college football is strong running game, two strong defenses.
Yeah, I don't think either of these teams are here for no reason without that right there. In this day and age, if you can stop the run and then you have a stout defense and your offense can run the ball, not only is that beneficial for the pass game, but that's demoralizing for a defense or an offense. When you go out there and you can't run the ball, or you're just getting the ball run down your face. It's demoralizing. It's not very fun to be on the opposing side of that. And we talk about breaking teams' drills, and I think that's what it starts with, is running the ball and stopping the run.
That coming here from Isaiah Jones speaking on the fan base. speaking on the run game and speaking on the talents that they're going up against in the Miami Hurricanes. Now it's time to speak with Riley Nowakowski, who talks about being a fullback / tight end and an extension of the offensive line.
Riley, being a fullback or a tight end, you're an extension of the offensive line. What can you say about this year's offensive line in Indiana and what it's been like to be an extension of those guys?
It's been awesome, man. There's some maulers up there, so it definitely makes my job easier. I just kind of chip my guy onto them, you know what I mean, or combo up. They're doing most of the work. I'm just kind of run alongside them. But it's been great. I think Coogie does a great job of leading it. Making all the calls. It's kind of hard to get that old line. So to have a center that's that smart, that dependable is huge. And obviously, guards and Drew and Bray that just come around and swapping holes and making plays. And then 2 tackles. We've had a few tackles played between Zen, Khalil, obviously Carter on the left, and Mola too. Just having those guys being able to give us time in the pass game too. We chip every once in a while, but really they're good on their own too. So it's been nice to be able to get out in a few routes, make a few plays, and it's been exciting.
And we all have moments of adversity. When you look back at your life up to this point, and now having an opportunity to play for a national championship, do you go back to a moment or two where you felt like you were at a crossroad and you made that right choice for yourself?
Yeah, definitely. When I was getting recruited, I didn't really have a whole ton of great offers. So I ended up walking out to Wisconsin, and that was probably the best choice that I could have made in that time. I knew it was going to be a lot of work. It was going to be a hard road because I wasn't getting my school paid for. I was paying to go play football somewhere. I was going to be on the bottom of the depth chart, and that's exactly what it was when I got there. It was a tough time. I didn't really play much, didn't see the field almost at all. And I just kind of had to work my way up, put myself up on my bootstraps. So I think that taught me a lot. Ultimately led me down this path of transition to offense and then eventually be tight end and being able to realize success and then come here and realize more success. So I think that was probably one of the tougher decisions in my life, but probably one of the better ones I've made just because it's led me to where I am today.
Speaking on that, here from Riley Nowakowski saying that he started by walking on at Wisconsin. That's how he started his career, paying to play college football, not having a scholarship, and now he's in the national championship. Amazing stories coming from both of these teams, and I'm very happy that Riley's story is here in the national championship. Here's another guy that I love talking with. Got great personality, and he said at the end of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, they talked, him and Fernando Mendoza spoke about this. Fernando mentioned the fact, he said, some of you don't know that when we were both down here playing high school football in Miami, D'Angelo Pons picked me off in a high school game. Well, D'Angelo's here to talk about that. Here's the corner picking off his now quarterback and what he had to say. And pay close attention because there was more to the story.
D'Angelo, after the Peach Bowl, Fernando talked about the fact that in high school you picked him off. Just go back to that moment and that interaction and just what it was like to go up against him.
Yeah, it's something we joke about all the time, how I picked him off. I kind of baited him into throwing something, but we had a great D-line, got pressure in his face. He kind of just threw it right to me, but we joke about it all the time. He actually tried to tackle me as well. He missed that. But, it's just great to have a quarterback like that to go against in practice now. It's definitely something we joked about when he first got here.
And D'Angelo, for you, when you look at Curt Cignetti, I mean, you believed in him once and you believed in him again. What is it about his message, his style, his leadership that you feel like has brought success to James Madison and now potentially a national championship to Indiana, at worst, a national championship appearance?
I would say Curt Cignetti hasn't changed since I met him. He's always had that same mindset, same standard. I would say his recruiting pitch when I was coming from James Madison to Indiana was the same as he says on the interviews, he wins. That was the main thing he pitched to me. He didn't say the boo me part, but he said I win, and that was enough to get me here. He trusted me out of high school, so it was kind of a no-brainer to go with him out of the portal as well.
Getting that from D'Angelo Pons, speaking on the fact that the message from Curt Cignetti in his recruiting pitch to James Madison was the same when it came to him leaving James Madison and becoming the head coach at Indiana, and then saying to D'Angelo, do you want to come with me to Indiana? So to hear that Curt Cignetti did not change who he was because of where he was speaks a lot to his consistency, his character, and who he is as a human being. And like he said, I win. So he's like, that thing that you hear when he talks about I win, he's like, that's what he told me. He didn't say Google me, but he did say I win. And the fact that he said, Fernando, that other part to it, yes, Fernando threw an interception to me in high school, but then he tried to tackle me. Keyword, tried to. And they said he talked about having fun with it all the time. Well, on the other side of the ball is wide receiver Elijah Surratt. And Surratt spoke with me about working with Mendoza and what they did beyond practice to build their relationship to have the success they've had.
Elijah, just what you can say about working with Fernando Mendoza and what it's been like throughout the year, and maybe some of those things beyond practice, kind of where you and him had that opportunity to build a relationship to create that confidence in each other that you have.
Really started the first day I met him on his visit. They had asked me to come out to dinner with them, so we chopped it up at dinner, and it was easy talking to him. So just from there, we started clicking. And as good as he is on the field, he's that good off the field too, just as a regular human being. So we have a lot of great conversations outside of football that really translates onto the field. Just building that trust, building that chemistry with each other, just as a friend, and not only just as a teammate.
With this offense, it doesn't make a lot of mistakes. And so the Miami's defense is the defense that creates mistakes and creates opportunities in the fourth quarter. What's it going to be like when those two things collide?
Yeah, Miami's a great defense. Coach Hellerman has them boys rolling. It's going to be a great challenge for us. But for us, it's just going to stick to the same things that we always talk about. Stay ahead of the sticks, execute when we have to execute, and don't turn the ball over. As long as we do those three things, we put ourselves in a good position.
And they really don't turn the ball over. Indiana has played almost perfect offensively when we know that they have not provided extra opportunities to their opponents. And speaking of the guy who runs this offense, who doesn't provide opportunities a lot of the time to their opponents, Fernando Mendoza, your starting quarterback who came from Cal via the transfer portal to the Indiana Hoosiers. And not only that, coming over to Indiana, he had a good season at Cal last year, had an even better season so far at Indiana, trying to have one more game and go 1-0 one more time. But through this entire time, whenever I see Fernando Mendoza in a post-game press conference, he talks about God, first and foremost. And in sitting in almost the same spot as Riley Leonard did last year from Notre Dame, when I spoke with Riley about his faith, this time around, I speak with Fernando Mendoza, your starting quarterback of the Hoosiers, potential number 1 overall draft pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, about his faith in God.
Over here.
Fernando, you've talked about your faith after every game. That's the first thing you go to. You speak about God. You haven't been afraid to do that. Just what you can say about your faith, why it centers you, and why it's important for you to share it with other people.
Yeah, in today's day and age, it can be very discouraging to talk about your faith, especially on national television. However, I always want to stay true to myself and stay true to my authentic self. And so I know that God has gotten me to this point, and I owe so much to Him. So I really can't thank Him enough and give Him all the glory, because He's done so much, not just for myself, but for my teammates and for my family throughout this entire journey. Without Him, I would not be here. I would not, have this opportunity that I have today without Him. So I always just try to give Him thanks and try to inspire younger athletes, as I've been inspired by older athletes like Tim Tebow and such, to always, if they're religious, to always give the honor and glory to God, whether it's encouraged or discouraged.
Whether it's encouraged or discouraged. Murph, before we get into the players here, the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and head coach are coming up next in my Q&As with the Indiana Hoosiers heading into the college football playoff national championship here in Miami, where Wake Up Call is broadcasting live from for this 2025-26 season. Your thoughts coming off of those conversations with the guys before we go to the coaching staff?
Well, I do just need to bring up real quick. I'm sure you saw my face when Fernando Mendoza mentioned my boy Tim Tebow, and he was kind of the first to really openly talk about, his faith and kind of, I don't want to say spearheaded the process of other guys doing it, but it seemed as though that he kind of inspired a lot of, young college players and even NFL players to, be willing to talk about it. So, it was cool to see his name drop for Tim Tebow there. But Mendoza's 100% right with that. But one thing I want to bring up that you heard, especially from the two running backs, being able to feed off of each other, crediting the offensive line, being able to, not care what the other guy does from an ego standpoint. They're able to go out and just, get each other hyped up and go out and play and do their thing. This team, from what I've seen from afar and from kind of what you've seen through what the players have talked about, there are no egos on that team. There's a reason why this team is currently 14-0. No,
15-0.
15-0. Sorry.
There you go.
There's a reason why this team is currently 15-0. There are no egos.
Yeah.
Everybody knows their job. And clearly, Coach Cignetti is doing something or saying things in the locker room to make sure that his team stays like this. We're going to get to a prediction later, but, I've kind of been foreshadowing. I was foreshadowing it last week too, but this Indiana team looks like they are just unstoppable. And these guys are just, regular guys. They'll hang out with their teammates, go to dinner off the field, do whatever they got to do to win. And that's something that Coach Cignetti did at every single level he's been at. He did it at James Madison. Now he's doing it at Indiana. Now, granted, James Madison, different level of football. We saw them get to the playoff this year and get their doors blown off by an Oregon team that we both believed was not that good. And I think them getting blown out by Indiana in the semifinal, or in the was it the semifinal?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So them getting blown out by Indiana in the semifinal kind of tells us, that was not a team that, particularly deserve. Well, not that they didn't deserve to be there. They did deserve to be there. But it wasn't as good as some of these other playoff teams. A program like James Madison, they're not competing for national championships. They're competing to win the Sun Belt and, at this point, hopefully make the college football playoff. They know full well they're not winning the national championship. But seeing him come from that level and taking an Indiana team who was in the basement of the Big Ten for a long time.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, the last time Indiana won a Big Ten championship or won a conference championship, because I'm not even sure that it was the Big Ten back then, was in the 40s. This is 80 years ago, folks.
Yeah.
We weren't even, Coach Cignetti wasn't even born yet. Every single I guarantee you, there might be a grand total of, I'm going to say over-under is set at 1.5 for reporters who will be in attendance. Reporters, coaches, I'm not going to say spectators because I guarantee there's going to be some spectators that are older, but reporters, coaches, people that are involved in the game or covering the game.
Yeah.
The over-under is 1.5, and I would take the under of coaches or reporters or media that were alive the last time Indiana won a conference championship. And not only did they do that, they're on the precipice of winning a national championship. I don't know that they've ever done that. I'm not 100% sure. I could be wrong. I don't think so. You might know more than I do, but I don't know that they've ever won a national championship. So if that is in fact true that they haven't, being on the precipice of winning the first in school history, you can see why. And I think you asked this. I don't remember his name. The defensive back, Isaiah, or what was Isaiah? What's Isaiah's last name?
Isaiah Jones.
Yeah, I think this is the question you asked to him about the crowd in the Peach Bowl, and it would not shock me if Indiana's fans run the stadium again, and that would be bizarre considering the fact that they are playing this game in Miami's literal home stadium.
Yeah.
Less than 40 miles away from the University of Miami's campus. The University of Miami with a crazy fan base.
Yeah.
These guys that
who are
these
paying
people
far less
that
money
are-
to go to the game because they're driving down the road. So
Correct. Yeah, we talked about that last week. It's
Yeah,
like
they don't need a
you know,
hotel.
the tickets are the same
Yeah.
price, but they don't have to get a hotel.
They don't need a hotel.
They don't have to
don't
get
need
a
transportation.
flight.
Don't need a flight.
They might just be sitting in traffic on I-95 or something.
They're just
coming up from Miami.
buying a ticket to the game and paying for parking.
Exactly, and that's it. And you know, I'm really looking forward to this, and I'm gonna probably be texting you. Game is at kickoff is at 8, right, or 8:20.
So 7:30 is like when it's supposed to be, but it's typically after. So they'll be doing some.
Oh, so it's 7:30
festivities and
kickoff.
whatnot. I think Coach.
Did they change that this year?
I think Signetti said something about like 7:50. So I was like, maybe he knows something we don't know because they've been doing it like 10 minutes or so later.
Okay. So I will probably be shooting you a text around 7 o'clock, and I don't know that you're going to be able to answer me because you might be getting yourself set up in the in the press box and everything. But
I'm heading
I'm
over
gonna
there
want
over 5 hours. I will be there probably 5 hours early.
So you're heading over there at like 2:30.
Yeah, I'm spending most of the day there.
I don't blame you one bit. But I would imagine that you'll probably, and I want to, that's why I'm going to text you. I want to report as to what the crowd is like, a little bit of ahead of game time. And I'm sure you'll post it on social media.
Yeah.
But I'm really interested to see what the crowd ends up being. Because if it's, even if it's 60-40 Indiana,
yeah,
that's going to make a huge, huge difference. And, if something crazy tells us that Miami's running the stadium, which it would not shock me because of where they are.
Yeah.
We're playing in Miami. It's literally their home stadium.
Yeah.
Season ticket holders, it's not like they're getting access to tickets, but they might have been buying tickets because they're already there.
Yeah.
If it is a big advantage for Miami, I don't think it will play as big a role as it would in the regular season. Simply because it seems as though Indiana does not get phased. Look at the game against Oregon in Eugene.
Yeah.
They dismantled Oregon. Now, granted, it was only a 10-point win, but that score did not tell the story of the game. They beat Oregon handily in that game in Eugene with all the crowd noise. Imagine what they would do to Miami, who, I think is a slightly better team than Oregon. But imagine what they could do to Miami in their home stadium in the national championship. Because nobody will get on Indiana if they were to lose this game with Miami having a huge crowd advantage. If Miami's 85-15, their fans are ahead. Their fans have a huge advantage.
Yeah.
It would not shock me one bit if Indiana loses this game, and it would. The crowd would play a major role. So, to me personally, I wouldn't get on Indiana at all if they were to lose this game because of that. I also wouldn't get on Miami if they were to lose this game because of that in the opposite direction. But at the same time, it's Miami's home stadium, so I would think they're going to show out.
Well, I spoke with Orange Bowl committee CEO who oversees the Capital One Orange Bowl, Eric Palms, and you can go back and watch that on our social media. You can go to Facebook at Wake Up Call DT. It's also been shared at Call DT on X, and you can find it on youtube.com/Wake Up Call DT with over 100 videos centered on the college football playoff, so make sure you check that out. And when I spoke with him, he said 26,000 tickets were allotted for Indiana, 26,000 for Miami, and then there's a bunch of tickets allotted for both, and then there's the rest of. There's those tickets that are kind of in the middle, and who gets to those tickets first. And so having some conversations with some people over the last couple days, it sounds like there is a chance that Indiana could out-seat Miami fans in Miami in their home stadium. So stay tuned, as I'll be letting you know that. I did say two things.
That would be really impressive.
Well, yeah, it'd be crazy. So I did say two things about Oregon going into their Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl semifinal game in the college football playoff this year against Indiana. I said, because I was at the game back here in Miami a few weeks ago for the Capital One Orange Bowl at Hard Rock Stadium as well. And I said, if Oregon plays the game they played against Texas Tech against Indiana, if they take what they did against Texas Tech and they play a similar way against Indiana, they will lose by 40.
They lost by like what? 36?
They lost by 34. And then I said at halftime of the game between Oregon and Indiana, I said to the staff of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, I said, if Indiana keeps on this path, they'll score 60. And they scored 56. So I have been on the line with that. Murph had a Freudian slip at the beginning of the college football playoff of Indiana going up against Miami.
I promise that wasn't my actual prediction. That was a complete slip up that has come true, right. And it is hysterical.
And it ends up
because
being true.
I would have probably picked. I probably would have picked Indiana Ohio State again, which that would have been my guess.
Well, and here's the crazy thing.
I think I did at the time.
Well, and here's my crazy thing. I've picked Miami every round. I didn't even think about this until I thought about it. I picked Miami every round. When we predicted our games round by round, I picked them to beat Texas A&M on the road. I picked them to beat reigning national champion Ohio State at the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, which I was at. I picked them to beat Ole Miss, and that ended up happening as well. And so when you look in the Verbo Fiesta Bowl, Indiana, who had advanced out of the first round and didn't have to play that game as the number 1 overall seed, I picked them in the quarterfinal in the Rose Bowl to defeat Alabama, and I picked Indiana to defeat Oregon in the Capital One Orange Bowl. So here I am individually saying, well, I picked Miami to win their 3 games, and I picked Indiana to win their 2, but I never looked up from the page, so to speak, to realize that meant I had picked them to play each other at the end of the road. So, because I haven't picked against Indiana or Miami this whole college football playoff, and I'm sad that I have to pick one of them today at the end of the show. But before we get to the end of the show, it's time to get to more of those conversations with the Indiana Hoosiers, and then we'll hear from the Miami Hurricanes. So my Canes fans, don't worry. Y'all are coming up in just a few minutes. We're going back to Indiana, and we're going to the coaching staff, offensive and defensive coordinators, and your head coach, Curt Cignetti, right here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And we're going to start things off with my conversation with offensive coordinator Mike Shanahan on taking a chance on Cignetti, Cignetti taking a chance on him, and their road together. Mike, when you look at Curt Cignetti and him taking a chance on you, you taking a chance on him, from that first day that you started working together to now being here at the national championship, what has that road been like to give and take from each other and learn from each other?
Yeah, early on it was definitely me taking it, just taking it all in, learning from him, his experience throughout his career up to that point at IUP, not only as a head coach but also as an offensive-minded coach. And I feel like over the years, probably whenever I got to JMU, I took another step in the game plan process, but also whenever I became offensive coordinator there was whenever I feel like our collaboration really started to go. And it's just a constant thing every single day. I feel like that's one thing I love about Coach Cignetti, working with him, is he's always hungry, always looking for the edge, always trying to get better, and it just feeds off on us as coaches, but also down to the players.
And when you look to the fact that it worked at JMU and now it's working at Indiana, what is part of that secret sauce that it doesn't matter where you are with Coach Cignetti, it works nationally?
Well, number one, I would attribute it to the players that we have. Obviously you can see that some of the guys that we brought from JMU are having great success here at the Big Ten level and nationally. But then aside from that, I just feel like over the years it's been a system that has been built to have answers. When you go against Coach Haynes' defense every single day in spring ball and fall camp, you have to give answers to the O-line, the quarterback, the receivers. You got to have adjustments. You got to have obviously a plan to have answers for every coverage in the pass game, so on and so forth. So it's been an evolution over the years, and I would give Coach Haynes a lot of credit for that as well, because it's made us evolve. It made us get better.
That coming from Mike Shanahan, and we continue our conversation with the offensive coordinator of the Indiana Hoosiers on Hemby, Black, and his stable of running backs.
Coach, when you look at Roman Hemby as well as Kalon Black and the rest of the rushing attack that you have here on the offensive side of the ball, just what you can say about having that stable and so many strong players there. I mean, we have a 1,000-yard back already, and there could be a second one after this game. So what's it like to kind of delegate who's getting the ball?
Well, yeah, it makes it very easy. For me, when we're calling plays, it's not, I don't care which one of those guys are in there. You put Kobe Martin in the mix. They're all very similar. They can obviously get you the tough yards. They can catch the ball in the backfield, and we've been really solid in protection with those guys. They've been a benefactor of some of the great blocking that we have up front. Our O-line's doing a great job. But those guys, I feel like really, since the playoffs started, they're running with an edge. They're doing a good job keeping the ball moving forward, not trying to get too cute. They're getting yards after contact. It's been really fun to watch those guys run these last few weeks.
Coming from offensive coordinator of the Indiana Hoosiers, Mike Shanahan. Like I said before, he has two backs. One's at 1,000 yards. One could hit 1,000 yards with just 39 yards in tonight's national championship game. Roman Hemby has 1,060. Kalon Black has 961. They're both averaging no less than halfway to a first down. 5 yards a carry for Hemby, 5.7 for Black. And now it's time to go to the defensive side of the ball. You heard Mike Shanahan mention defensive coordinator Bryant Haynes, and this is what he had to say on why he has continued to come back and believe in Curt Cignetti. Cignetti making these connections with his coaches that have lasted all the way through to Indiana and to this moment in the national championship.
Coach, you believed in Curt Cignetti, his mission and his vision a long time ago, well before Indiana. What is it about him that keeps you coming back and keeps you believing?
One, his messaging is very consistent. Two, it's easy to follow. Just step-by-step plan. Every day we have a plan. It's organized. It's detailed. I know what is expected of me on a day-to-day basis. So if there's clarity in the messaging, there's continuity, and it's easy to define roles. It's easy to stay in that. And then ultimately, if you follow that script, it takes you into a successful place. It has since I've been with him. He and I, he's never had a losing season as a football coach, so every year I've been with him, we've been successful. But why? Clear messaging, consistent messaging, and then a day-to-day plan. That's a sign to me of a great boss, a great leader, damn good football coach.
And then as far as, Carson Beck and what you see from him on the other side, I don't think he gets necessarily the credit that he deserves, but what do you see from him and what he's been able to do?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. I think that he is, to be honest, maybe the perfect quarterback in this offense when he's not making mistakes. Again, if you look back at their losses, some turnovers and probably some miscues there. But outside of that,
Ladies and gentlemen, there are 5 minutes remaining in the Indiana Hoosiers media session. Once again, 5 minutes remaining in the Indiana Hoosiers media session.
Just say he operates to me kind of like a point guard. He distributes the ball to his playmakers. He doesn't make a lot of errors. He understands the box. I think you can see in the film that he's a veteran. He's been around ball. He understands it. He knows when to throw the screen, when to get the ball out of the box, when to hand it off, and the box is light. So I think a lot of the offense flows through him, and when he's on point, so is that offense.
That coming from Bryant Haynes speaking on Carson Beck. I think it's time to hear from the head coach of the Indiana Hoosiers. I had the opportunity to speak with him a few times so far in this college football playoff in general, speak with him a couple times at Media Day and at the head coach's press conference. Here's Curt Cignetti, the head coach of your Indiana Hoosiers, on Corey Heatherman, who he used to work with at James Madison. Now Corey Heatherman is the defensive coordinator of the Miami Hurricanes. This is what he had to say about Corey and the fact that he's on the other side of this championship matchup.
Coach, you mentioned Coach Heatherman, and obviously you worked together for a few years, and you said kind of like what he does and how he does it. What have you seen from him and how he's grown and how he's matured as a leader on the defensive side, and just what it's like to know that once you were on the same side, now you're on the opposite side?
Yeah, well, we actually don't communicate a ton anymore, but I love him. I didn't want to leave. We had a great relationship. I really thought a lot of him. And then, you know, you're so busy. He's busy, I'm busy. It's hard to. But I mean, we exchange text occasionally. I've seen schematically it change. I can't talk to his growth as a leader because I'm not with him day to day. But I always thought he was a great football coach. Fortunately, I had Bryant Haynes, who I think is the best in the country. And they're different. They're different guys. You know, Corey's a hard driver. And you'd be shocked to know that Corey played quarterback in college. And I used to joke all the time. I heard he had no touch when he threw the ball. You find that hard to imagine knowing Corey, right? That he wouldn't have touch as a quarterback. But Corey's a great football coach. He's done a great job here.
I do want to make mention that people say Curt Cignetti never smiles, and he smiled in that conversation with me. Let's go to the next one here that we have Curt Cignetti speaking on his staff and player success. He brought people over from James Madison to Indiana. It wasn't just him. He brought student athletes. He looked at his coaching staff and made some moves with them as well. And what it says about the so-called group of, which you know I can't stand that moniker, what does it say about them that he comes from James Madison, he brings... Obviously, you know, when we look at the coaching staff and we look at the Mike Shanahan coming over with him from James Madison, we look at the success that he's had with student athletes like D'Angelo Pons, making these moves with him from James Madison, from the Sun Belt to Indiana, the Big Ten, from the group of to the Power Four, quote unquote. What does that say about the group of and about this journey? This is what he had to say. And pay close attention, because he says something about almost not taking the job at Indiana.
Coach, to come from James Madison and to take, so obviously when you look at your coaching staff, your student athletes, to not just go yourself to Indiana, but to bring them with you and to see the success, what does that say about the power moniker, the group of moniker, and when it comes down to just the fiber of who a person is?
Yeah, you know, we kind of create those categories artificially, right? Group of five like that. And, you know, these games are televised, these ones are. I think the average fan probably doesn't understand sometimes that there are some really good teams at the group of five level, the players. Obviously, we brought guys here that are some of our better players that have been All-Americans. I do think the group of five level has probably been watered down a hair since I left JMU, because the transfer portal every year takes and takes and takes, right? So maybe some of those teams aren't quite as strong as they were when I left, so to speak. But, you know, those guys all had a little chip on their shoulder. They had something to prove. They were really good players. We've had a lot of success. They, you know, they're wondering why they weren't recruited by a P4 program, and this was their opportunity. And truthfully, the process happened so fast, me taking the job, and almost didn't take it because I loved JMU. Once I got here, and they started jumping in the portal, I was like, oh, yeah, we could use him. Like, I had never entertained the notion that they may follow me. I had no idea what was going on. What I knew about Indiana was just being a coach's kid, loving college football, and following college football since 1971. Maybe had some good teams. The one thing that did catch my attention, however, about 3 years ago when that TV contract was signed by the Big Ten, making all that dough, that caught my eye.
So you just heard that from Coach Cignetti. What caught his eye about the Big Ten, he almost didn't leave James Madison, but what caught his eye about the Big Ten was their TV contract that they recently signed, which I believe was an $8 billion contract. So that was interesting. Also interesting that he said he almost did not leave James Madison and that it never crossed his mind to take players to Indiana until he saw them jump in the portal, and he's looking in the portal going, well, we could use that guy. We can use that guy too. We can bring that guy over. And you've heard his players talk here on Wake Up Call today about the fact that they believed in him and they followed him, and they believed in him from James Madison to Indiana. And you've also heard from coaches that have worked with him and believing in him. You heard from Mike Shanahan and this road that he's taken with him, and, you know, the messaging of just what he's done, his consistency, who he is. And I sit here and, like I told y'all, I can't stand the power versus the group of conversation, That was a media created thing. And like he said, they're artificial terms. So I agree with Kurt Signetti on a lot of things. I've actually liked to get to talk to him over these last few weeks because I feel like him and I are on the same page in a lot of places. And I really do enjoy listening to his answers and what he has to say about things and how he's responded to my questions. And I really appreciate the time to coach and his staff and his student athletes. Being around him and hearing what he had to say about the Power Five and the group of, I always talk about if those outside of the Big 10, Big 12, SEC, and ACC are so bad, why do you want their student athletes? Why do you want their coaches? And in some cases, why do you try to steal their entire institution? And James Madison is a prime example. Kurt Signetti is a prime example of this. It does work. You know, people tell me, you know, look at all these coaches that left the American and look at these coaches that left here, there, and everywhere, and they didn't translate. Kurt Signetti's in the national championship game. Kurt Signetti beat Ohio State, the reigning national champion in the Big Ten championship. Kurt Signetti is 15-0. He's never had a losing season, as Mike Shanahan talked about, ever. And he's been in a lot of places. So it does work to take a coach from outside of the quote-unquote power and put him in the quote-unquote power. And I think Kurt Signetti is the glaring example of this and the shining example of this. Murph, before we take a step aside and head into the Miami Hurricanes and my Q&As with their coaches and players, any notes that you would like to make on hearing from the OC, the DC, and the head man, Kurt Signetti?
I think, like I said, the message is always the same with Coach Signetti, and it's all about winning and making sure that you're, you know, coaching up good human beings and you know, good young men, and you know, for him that's seemingly worked. And you know, he you know, his point on the, you know, the power four and group of five kind of makes sense. You know, why would we be taking teams from them or taking players from them if they weren't good? You know, in certain cases, I think it could just simply be, you know, the players, the coaches are good, but the team around them isn't good enough to be, you know, national championship contenders. So you bring them into an organization and a team and an institution that can be successful. And you know, we didn't think Indiana was going to be that school.
Yeah.
Remember what we talked about before? Like they were at the bottom. They were in the bottom of the Big Ten for a long, long time.
Yeah, Indiana wasn't relevant forever. And by the way, they have not won a national championship.
Okay, I thought so. Like I definitely remembered hearing that. But you look at them and you're like, this team, for lack of a better term, they sucked for a long time. And it took all these years and finally finding Coach Signetti to get them on the precipice of a national championship. That doesn't happen in 2 years, folks. That is a credit to what Coach Signetti has done himself, with his staff, with his team, all the way across the board. You don't see rebuilds happen that quickly, especially in college football. Maybe you see it in the NFL. You saw it already with the Chicago Bears and New England Patriots and the Jaguars this year. But you don't see rebuilds in college football take 2 years from being complete mediocrity in your conference.
Well, don't even say rebuild. Just say build.
Build, yeah.
He's built this thing.
Like
just
built from scratch.
Yeah.
You don't take
Indiana
a program.
was a bottom feeder. Like literally, they were toward the lower part. They were not a factor. They were not the team that you would pick to beat Ohio State, Michigan State, Wisconsin, Penn State, Michigan.
Remember
any of those
what
teams.
we've talked about earlier this year with Vanderbilt and Rutgers and places places like that were completely irrelevant. They were guaranteed wins for these teams going into Indiana or coming, Indiana coming to them.
Yeah.
And, you looked at Indiana as a blip on your schedule. They're just going to beat them by 50. Maryland recently, right?
Yeah.
Nebraska not as much anymore, but, in the old days, Nebraska.
Yeah.
You don't see teams that go from the absolute basement of their conference
Yeah.
to playing for a national championship. Folks, it does not happen ever. If you have a team, and I'll use Florida State as an example. They've been, they struggled for a while. Then they go 13-0 with Jordan Travis before he gets hurt. Don't make the college football playoff, which we agree is still was still a horrible thing, that horrible decision that they made. But you have that, and then they start losing again. That's a little bit different. It's a program with with storied history.
Yeah.
Like, guys will still come to those programs. It happens all the time. All the time. Guys you don't think of Indiana as a school that has a rich history of football.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Allen
They
did some
are-
good things, and his son, who I got to meet, also named Tom Allen, Thomas Allen, at HB Plant down here in Florida. My coverage of recruiting down in Florida, all my work in Florida, with Florida being the second hub of Dan Tortora broadcast media overall, and of course with Wake Up Call underneath that, and my second home in general with so much family down here. Shout out to Papa Joe and Mary and Joey and Diana and the crew, and of course a big time shout out to Jason and Dale, and to my nieces Carly and Gracie, to Eric, to Mark and Stefan, to my guy Rick, to everybody that's down here, and Brennan, much appreciation to you all, and I love being down here in the great state of Florida. I was at HB Plant with 7-on-7s when Syracuse was highly recruiting the area, and the Culpepper family, and I got to meet Thomas Allen, the son of Tom Allen, before Tom Allen became the head coach, or right around the time he became the head coach of Indiana, and he did a good job there. I crossed paths with him, finally got to interview him when he was the Penn State defensive coordinator last year, when I was at the first round of the college football playoff when they beat SMU. And now he's on a team that I've covered for a very long time, for over a decade. Now he's the Clemson Tigers defensive coordinator. So, there has been some success and some good things with Indiana. And it did start down here in South Florida with Tom and his family being down here, which I think is kind of ironic that here he is down in South Florida and he becomes the head coach of Indiana. Now Indiana's back in South Florida to face off against a Florida team that's based right down here. So just a lot of cool things, a lot of irony. Small world of sports continues to show itself, and I've realized it a billion times here. But yeah, I mean, to your point of looking at everything that's happened here, what Indiana has built, I mean, this thing doesn't get done like this. To come from obscurity, a team that nobody talks about, a team that people don't expect to have a winning season, or to even necessarily go to a bowl game. If they go to a bowl game, to not go to a prominent bowl game, and the national championship, that hasn't been a thought on a lot of people's minds. Indiana last year got beat by Notre Dame pretty, seemed like easily down the stretch, and so I mean, for
It was pretty easily.
Yeah, for them to be where they are. Right, and I didn't think Indiana should have been in the playoff last year. And, this year, I was like, if they beat, knowing the respect the Big Ten has by the CFP committee, I was like, if they beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship, they're the number one seed. It's not even a thought. And they were. So, I mean, shout out to them and congratulations to them for that. I probably would have seeded Georgia at 2, but, at the end of the day, doesn't matter who was 2 or 3, they lost. Doesn't matter who was 4 in Texas Tech. I wasn't sold on the Big 12 this year, and they lost. They didn't score a point in their game. So, this has been a road for Indiana. It's been an amazing road, and it's been a road that we can't really say other people have done when we talk about coaches. And for some clarity, not that I have to do this or should have to say any of this, but Murph and I have not said this entire season at any given point that Indiana was a bad team, had a bad coach, had a bad coaching staff, had bad players. All we spoke about was that Indiana had an easy schedule. And when I spoke about this, when the team was 8-0, I spoke about wins over Oregon and Iowa. Murph had given them credit over Iowa. When I took a harder look at it and was sitting down at my kitchen table, I said, at Oregon, at Iowa, okay, you have I call Oregon a Tier 2 win this year, a high Tier 2, because their schedule was easier. and I call Iowa a tier 2. So I said, beat a tier 1 team and I'll give you respect. I never said that this team wasn't good. I said, I just want to see them play a better team and beat a better team. They did that against Ohio State. They did that against Alabama. And I gave them where credit's due. They beat Oregon more handily the second time around, and their fan base made it a home game in Atlanta, Georgia at the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. But I want to be clear about that. I have never said my Indiana wasn't good. I gave you factual evidence and told you that their last 4 games of the regular season were against the bottom feeders of the Big Ten, teams that had not won a game in the Big Ten, and those 4 teams had a combined record of 1-17 in the Big Ten. So how anybody could think that that statement was not factual, but people twist things because when you say something, they perceive it as negative. People like to fight in today's day and age, and because of social media, people think that they can have an opinion about everything in your life. So most people are smart. I think one person wrote to me on YouTube and said, "What do you have to say now, Dan?" I was like, I say the same thing. They had an easy schedule until they played Ohio State. And I said, if you beat a tier 1 team, I'll give you respect. And how have I not done that? I've picked them to win both of their games in the college football playoff. And I never said a bad word about Indiana. I said their schedule was easy. And that's different.
100%. And also, Notre Dame fans, where you at? Huh?
Very quiet.
You know, Miami's playing in the national championship game. Where you at, Notre Dame fans? Where you at?
They're probably wearing Indiana.
That's right. They didn't belong in the playoff.
They're probably wearing Indiana shirts and coming to the game today. So
they probably would have lost in the first round if Notre Dame played, because they would have played Texas A&M, and they already lost to them once. They probably would have lost to them again. So Notre Dame wouldn't have even made it past the first round, let alone what Miami has done going all the way to the national championship. Yeah. But real quick, because I know we got to take a break. Going back to Indiana. For years and years and years, this was a basketball school, folks.
Yeah.
They've won multiple national championships in basketball.
Bobby Knight.
They've been a great basketball school. Yeah. They've been a great basketball school for a long, long time. And it was always known as a basketball school. Everybody knows that in certain, these days in college sports, certain schools are basketball schools, football schools, or everything else. Yeah. I'll consider like certain schools baseball schools. I always thought Vanderbilt was always a baseball school. Lacrosse schools. You got the America East. I know at least in women's lacrosse is usually really good. Just for an example. And then you got like the SEC and the ACC in baseball and softball. And a lot of times the Sun Belt's usually pretty good in baseball too. They've won national championships in the past. Coastal Carolina just played for a national championship and has a national championship in the past in baseball. But you look at Indiana as a basketball school. You look at Duke as a basketball school. You look at North Carolina as a basketball school.
Yeah.
You look at Virginia as a basketball school. Then you get to teams like, maybe could be, hit or miss, one way or the other. For years, Syracuse was always a basketball school. I still think Syracuse is a basketball school, but the football team is definitely looking up.
Yeah, right now, they're a lacrosse school.
Yeah, that's fair.
They are.
But yeah, like you look at, then you look at like Florida. Yes, they just won a national championship in basketball, but they always have been and always will be a football school. You look at Alabama, whose basketball team has been really good over the last few years. They are still and will always be a football school. This is what the people perceive. Indiana is not a football school, but it's becoming one.
Yeah.
Indiana Hoosiers basketball isn't as good as they've been in years past. And their football team is about to play for a national championship, which they've never done before. The amount of people, and being the largest alumni fan base in the nation, there's a lot to be said about that, folks. When you are a fan, or you went to the school, but you're also going to be a fan. When you are a fan of a team that hasn't won anything ever. Now, I don't know what this feels like because none of my teams have ever won anything, except Florida Gators basketball. But I'm not like, a religious Florida Gator basketball fan. I like I'll watch basketball games. Obviously, I watch all their games in the NCAA tournament, including the national championship,
Yeah.
and was excited when they won. But I don't know what it feels like for one of my teams to go and win a championship.
Yeah.
The most recent one I got to see, the Mets run to the NLCS last year against the Dodgers. They lose. I was heartbroken.
Yeah.
Right? But you are locked in on everything. I was already playing. Like, I went to game 3 against the Phillies. I went to game 3 against the Dodgers. I was prepared to buy tickets to game 3 of the World Series.
Yeah.
Obviously, I didn't have to because they lost. But I was prepared to buy tickets to game 3 of the World Series against the Yankees. A series in which I firmly believe they would have won. Not you, Siri. My phone decided my Siri on my phone decided she wanted to get involved in the conversation.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to watch your team in a deep playoff run going to a championship. Mets have played in the World Series 2015. Still breaks my heart. Jets have been to 2 AFC championship games. Granted, long time
By the way,
ago.
congratulations on Bo Bichette, sir.
Oh, well, thank you. That was, not the guy I was expecting, but, I'll take it.
I thought
Not
you'd
going
be
to complain.
happy
Still
about
need some. I was happy. I was happy about it. I was more confused than anything else because I'm like, I like Bo, but I didn't see the fit. I didn't really see where he fits. He's gonna play third base, which all right, that makes sense. But where do you put Beatty? Do you put Beatty at first? Do you put Beatty in the outfield? Do you put Beatty at DH? I don't know. But like, I've gotten to see the Jets in 2 AFC championship games. Obviously, they lost both of them. It's been a long time since they did that. I got to see the Devils in the Stanley Cup Finals. Obviously, they lost that one to the Kings back in 2012. I was alive for 2 Devils championships.
Yeah.
I was not old enough to remember those 2 Devils championships. So, to me, I don't count those.
Yeah.
I was not a Florida Gator fan when they won the 2 national championships in the late 2000s. Now I am, more involved. I was excited when they won the baseball national championship again, but again, I'm not sitting religiously watching every single game like I do Mets, Jets, Florida Gators. I've been watching a lot more Devils games in the last couple of years. But these fans, I get it. Because I don't know what a championship feels like.
Yeah.
But I know it's going to be that much sweeter when they finally win one. And these Indiana fans, I guarantee you are feeling that right now. Yeah. You are less than 12 hours away from getting to watch your team hopefully win a national championship. If Indiana goes and wins tonight, there will be a party in the streets all across the state of Indiana. Indiana fans that are at the game will be partying in the streets of Miami.
Yeah.
I am longing for that feeling, and I truly hope that you guys get to experience that tonight. I really do.
It's going to be interesting. Either we're going to have Michael Irvin on top of a flaming car bouncing on it, or we're going to have Michael Irvin on top of a flaming car bouncing on it. If they win, it's going to be not Michael Irvin's car. If they lose, it might be Michael Irvin's car, but we shall see what happens. We're going to take a step aside for a fast break. Wake Up Call is coming to you live on site on location from the southern part of the great state of Florida, our second home of Dan Tortora Broadcast Media and Wake Up Call. And of course, we're inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios from Miami. You will hear from your Canes, who are playing a road game at home, and their student athletes and coaches are coming up right after this in our wall-to-wall coverage of the 2026 College Football Playoff National Championship. Honored to be here. Honored to have the opportunity to cover the game. I thank God first. I thank the College Football Playoff, the College Football Playoff Committee, everyone within these bowls in the playoff and bowl season in general. Cannot thank you enough for the opportunity. God has given me more than I could have even dreamed of. I've always believed in myself. But to be at a national championship game, I don't have a lot of words. I have a lot of gratitude, a lot of humbleness, a lot of humility, and a desire to work 100 times, 1,000,000 times harder every single year. Infinity is the number that I'm chasing. And so to be in Atlanta last year was a true blessing and an amazing, amazing opportunity. To be here in Miami and to have the 12-team college football playoff in 2 years of existence, I'm with you all the way to the end. So we'll bring you to the end of the line tonight, but not before you hear from the Miami Hurricanes right after this.
New York, great cars, great people, Great Lakes. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes. Big time thanks to Chick-fil-A in DeWitt on the corner of Bridge Street and Erie Boulevard. Can't say enough about Megan Sorber and her team. They just opened a few months back toward the end of 2025, and they have these new Chick-fil-A cups, these vintage cups. There's 4 of them. They sold out real quick. I found out about the cups, and they were gone. So you've been going over to Chick-fil-A in DeWitt. Can't thank you enough for that. Go and see Megan Sorber and her team. You can't miss it. It is the largest Chick-fil-A I've seen in my entire life, including down here in the South. So go out and see them in DeWitt, New York, corner of Bridge Street and Erie Boulevard for the double drive-through, the giant dining room, and the entire experience that you get from being there at Chick-fil-A in DeWitt. Whether you're a fan of the original, the spicy, or the grilled, Chick-fil-A is home. Head over to DeWitt today. Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McNerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Bryan and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Bryan and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Bryan's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Life gets busy, and sometimes that means us running around. So Canine Camp Dog Daycare offers you an opportunity to give your dog a place to stay while you take care of what you need to throughout the day. Canine Camp Dog Daycare is located on 228 Old Bridge Street in East Syracuse, New York. You can see it from the highway, and it's just off of Erie Boulevard across from BJ's Wholesale Club. Call 315-437-7110. That's 315-437-7110 to schedule an appointment to bring your dog in and tour the facility. Appointments are Monday through Thursday after 6:30, where you and your dog can see everything that Canine Camp Dog Daycare has to offer, including a self-serve dog wash and a retail store filled with all of your dog's wants and needs, including food, treats, harnesses, leashes, and more, making Canine Camp Dog Daycare your one-stop shop for your furry loving friend. Right, Lily? And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora as we broadcast DT and Murphy live from down here in Miami, Florida, South Beach. And I was on the beach yesterday. Here is God being God once again. I was told to go to South Beach. It rained a little bit yesterday, but I wanted to get outside. The weather broke. It was warm. It's like 80 degrees outside. There was a breeze. And so I decided to go to South Beach. So I just picked a random restaurant so that I could give the Uber a place to go. And I get to South Beach. She stops and she goes, "I think it's around the corner." I said, "All right." So I walked. I thought the beach was in front of me. I walked over this path onto the beach. I turned to my right, and what's right there? College football playoff music series. I walked, so God literally put me right at where the college football playoff was for the playlist live. I turned to my right, I walked in, I listened to music, I got a bunch of videos, and then I went to the actual water itself. Saw cruise ships taking off from where my mom and I took our cruise a few years ago on the Disney Cruise Line. I think we were on the Wish. We were on the Disney Dream. And so I went to the water, took video from the water, and you know that I call my coverage of the college football playoff DT on the CFP. I wrote it in the sand right by the water. Got to shoot a video of that. Got to shoot a video in the water. Got to shoot a video of the water. Got to show you what playlist live looks like, because I decided to go to South Beach, and then God was like, "Oh yeah, this is where the college football playoff has extended to, so why don't you go over there?" So I was working while I was on the beach.
That's perfect.
Now it's time to
Must be nice though. We got like 8 inches of snow outside.
Yeah, my dad said, he was
and it's gonna be like 12 degrees tomorrow.
Yeah, my dad's like, "We have white on the ground too, but it's snow." So my parents both texted me yesterday, "I want to be you when I grow up." And I thank God for letting my job take me to places that I thought about and hoped for, and places that I could never even dream of. I don't know how you top Miami. I don't know how you top
it's beautiful
having your concert series on the water, and that's your doorstep of the college football playoff. Your literal welcome mat is the ocean, the beach, and this entire experience has been absolutely incredible. The hospitality, to put the media on a mega yacht the night before and have fireworks for us and music. Miami,
that's so sick.
You do it up big, Miami. By the way, my hotel is within like a 2-minute walk of Hell's Kitchen for Gordon Ramsay. So,
oh goodness,
like I don't, and I just want to go in there and hear him yelling about scallops. I can go. It depends on when I get off the air, but I can go.
And so I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. Scallops. But, yeah, there's a lot of great stuff. So shout out to Miami.
It's scallops, you donut.
Yeah, I was like, nobody likes... He doesn't like anybody's scallops that they make. I would love to make scallops for him and have him not say anything because that would mean that I'm doing a good job. So it's been an amazing experience. But South Beach, you got a home team in the college football playoff. It's never happened before in the history of the college football playoff that a home team gets to be in the national championship, gets to play in their stadium. They will be the road team, but they will be in their stadium. And it's time for you to hear from the Canes. So let's raise up those Canes as I start things off with the guy that I started the season off with at the ACC kickoff, Akeem Mesidor.
You spoke about getting to Fernando Mendoza early. Indiana doesn't make a lot of mistakes offensively. Just what you can say about what that's like to have the collision of an offense that doesn't make a lot of mistakes with your defense that obviously has provided a lot of opportunities to get to this national championship.
Well, they're very disciplined people, as you're saying. So we have to be disciplined for one, and then we need to stop the run, push second down, forcing a long, and stuff like that. And once we get the passes down, be able to rush the passer. They're a great offensive line, but also they're a great defensive line. So it should be a great matchup. But we want to affect Mendoza and make him comfortable.
What is it about this team that you feel like got you to this moment? When you look back on everything and kind of the road that started a year ago, if not longer than a year ago, what are some of those things that maybe people don't see that got you here?
Well, there's been a bunch of huge changes. Defensively was obviously the biggest change that we made to the team. But our offense, their ability to run the ball, control the clock, and not only run the ball, but control the ball. We got playmakers like CJ, Malachi, like Keelan, all these guys. So we got an explosive offense. We're able to run the ball and control the clock if we want to. And then defensively was the biggest change. Our D-line is fairly similar to last year. It's pretty much the same. A lot of guys are coming back. The biggest thing is our DBs. We got a bunch of new additions at corner and safety, and with Coach Heatherman as well, putting in his defense. I think we're now a complete team. We're strong in the trenches. We got physical guys, we're better receivers, DBs, and I think that's what helped us get to this far.
Talking about the eliteness of his team and saying the defensive line's really similar to last year, and him being a part of it and a future first-round NFL draft pick, Akeem Mesidor, saying that the credit comes to when you return most of your defensive line, the fact that he said a lot of positive things about the back line, the defensive backs. So let's hear what Jacoby Thomas, one of those D-backs, had to say about Akeem Mesidor's credit.
Speaking with Akeem Mesidor about this team and how you kind of improved from day one to right now, he gave a lot of credit to the defensive back unit. Just what you can say about growing as a unit and what it means to you to have a guy like Akeem see so much and have so much faith in what you do in the back line.
First of all, Akeem's a great teammate. That's why he leads in an exceptional way. My group of guys, he came in late. We were older guys. Some of these guys actually played a lot of snaps, valuable snaps. So coming in, we just knew that we had a lot of talent and we just had to create an identity for who we are as a defensive back unit. And we latched on, we're going to play hard, we're going to play hard. And Keith and the guys do a great job. Just constantly keep everyone accountable. I can't thank you enough. We've had long talks about what we're supposed to do and how we're going to do things and how we're going to approach everything, to keep our defense together. It's easy to say, but there's a lot of long nights in that.
What is it about working with a guy like Keontae Scott that you guys just playing off of each other on the field, off the field? What it's like to be with him and learn from each other?
It's great. Keontae is one of my best friends outside of the city, but when I have a teammate like that, and I can, when I'm going through it, and someone I can call and come to the house and just sit down and talk to me, it's easy for me to get on the field and say, I'm going to give him everything that I got.
That coming from Jacoby Thomas. Speaking on Keontae Scott, another big piece of this Miami defense. And speaking of big piece, at the linebacker group, we have Wesley Besainth, who I have the opportunity to speak with in this college football playoff. We continue our conversation speaking on his defense meeting the offense of Indiana. Indiana's offense doesn't make a lot of mistakes. Miami's defense hangs their hat on the fact that they make you make mistakes. Here's Wesley talking about it.
Wesley, when you look at Fernando Mendoza in this offense, they don't make a lot of mistakes, but Miami has hung its hat on the fact of making teams make mistakes to get to this point right now. When those two things converge in the national championship, just what you can say about the matchup and your defense against their offense.
Like I said, we just got to be disciplined. We got to be disciplined as well, and everyone has to do their job. Everyone has to do their one-on-one. And if we do that, everything else will take care of itself. You don't want to press and make plays. Everyone has to do their job each and every play.
That coming from Wesley Besaint about the team needing to make plays, do their job, and lock in on their controllables. Speaking of this team, why Mario Cristobal, in Wesley's opinion, is the right fit for Miami right now.
Wesley, why is Mario Cristobal the right leader for this team at this time? Just what it means to you to have him as the central voice of the Miami Hurricanes. What is it about him that you feel is the right fit for Miami?
Coach Mario played here. You know, it's in his blood. So he came home with a vision, and he knew what he wanted the Miami Hurricanes to be. And I believed in his vision. And we just put our head down, we grinded, and now we're at the national championship.
Wesley speaking on his coach saying, this is his team. This is home. And he came home with a vision. It's in his blood, and they believe in him. This gentleman that they call, his name is Francis, but we call him CC. And he has been a huge part of this offensive line. He scored an offensive touchdown against Syracuse just a few weeks back in the regular season. Here's his thoughts on what it's like to be coached by Mario Cristobal.
And just what Mario Cristobal has done to create what he's created here, just his leadership, just what it's like to be coached by him and to get to this moment.
I mean, it's an awesome experience. I mean, you know, Coach Cristobal, not only as a head coach, but he's part of our O-line. He was able to push us. He's able to, come beside and push us to be great. I mean, he wants us to be the tone setters, and that's what we're going to be.
Being the tone setters, knowing that they have a rushing attack that features Mark Fletcher Jr. and obviously more than simply Mark Fletcher, where you have another, just like Indiana, you have a running back stable that features a lot of talent, a lot of guys, 1,000-yard back already, and a lot of good things to come. Being those trendsetters and getting after it, I appreciate sharing that time with Francis Maui Goa, a.k.a. CC, who has been an awesome part of this offense and this Miami team overall. It's time to switch from one trench to the other. And as the coaches talked about, and as we heard Curt Cignetti talk about in the head coach's press conference, the trenches are the most important thing. That's how you win. And another guy that was down in Florida at the time, University of Central Florida, George O'Leary, told me that. You win in the trenches. If you don't know that you build a team from the inside out and you don't do it that way, you should probably do something else other than coaching. Here's on the defensive line, Ruben Bain Jr. I talked about Akeem Mesidor being a guy that we're going to see drafted in the NFL draft, probably as a first rounder. Well, I got Ruben Bain in the first round as well. This dude had 3 sacks and a blocked field goal in one game in this college football playoff run. Here's Ruben Bain Jr. speaking on why Mario Cristobal, in his opinion, is the right leader.
Ruben, why is Mario Cristobal the right coach for this team? Why has he been the right leader to bring Miami back to that national stage in this moment?
Constant competitor, true father figure for us, and he's a believer. He believes in us, so we don't believe in him. He trusts in us, so we trust him. Somebody that holds up his word. We're not going to say that we don't actually mean it. Everything he told me and told us, it comes to light, and it's true. I think one thing he said to me that hasn't been true since I got here, and even before I got here. So he's just a man to believe in. He's a man to get it done. You see how he acts in practice, and throughout the week, you'll understand why we're here right now.
You see how he is in practice, and you'll understand why we're here right now. He said, when you basically, he is who he says he is. He builds that trust, so you trust him. He trusts you, you trust him. He gives to you, you give to him. And Ruben and I continued our conversation on this poetic journey. A lot of people counted Miami out from the beginning. What did Mario Cristobal say yesterday? That at the beginning of the season they had a 5% chance of making it to the college football playoff. They saw that statistic. Well, Reuben Bain Jr. leans on God, leans on his faith, and they've believed in themselves, had faith in themselves, and there's been poetic justice in this poetic journey that started in Miami, ends in Miami, with Miami, the team that wasn't supposed to be there.
Ruben, it's a unique story. Like you said, you talked about your faith in God and kind of getting to this moment. You said people from the outside didn't expect Miami to be here. Now Miami's playing for a national championship in Miami. So just how poetic that is and what the journey's been like to come all the way back home.
Very poetic. Nobody that can really say so. Everything is in God's hands. Nobody can really count us out even if they want us to. That's all between God and the work we put in. And we got our faith in Him. But now, half the teams and travel every time we associate it. So we put our all into the process. God rewards us for all the work we do.
That coming from Reuben Bain Jr. speaking on his faith, how it all starts with God. And to get to this moment, it is now up to Miami, and they can control what they can control, which is themselves. The talent of Miami is deep and vast. And now we switch to the offensive side of the ball once again to speak with wide receiver Malachi Toney, the true freshman, on working with Carson Beck. Come for the information, stay for the laughs.
Malachi, working with somebody like Carson Beck, what has it been about his leadership, his style, the way he commands the offense and the huddle that you feel like has brought out the best in you?
It means a lot because a person like that, he's a vet, he's been around football for a long time. He has done the things I want to do in life. So, just soaking in the game for him means a lot. He helped me a lot. When I'm at running back and I got an option route, he tells me what coverage it is, so I ain't even got to read the defense. It's just stuff like that that helped me a lot.
And then as far as you and CJ Daniels, if you had to pick between the two of you, and I know you probably picked yourself and he picked himself, but what you could say about who makes the best catch of the season so far, and have we not seen the best catch yet?
Oh, y'all ain't see the best catch. His best catch was a practice. I get that to him hands down. He got some hands. His best catch was in practice. He went behind his head and put like a one hand.
So is yours still to come maybe on Monday night?
We'll see.
He tells us we'll see, and that C.J. Daniels' best catch was not in a game. Wasn't that one-handed grab going in the end zone. It was a one-handed behind his head catch in practice. We'll head to the offensive line, James Brockermeyer, on working under offensive coordinator Shannon Dawson. Here's what James had to say, and I'm happy that I got to speak with him coming into this game and obviously here in this moment.
James, just what you could say about working in the offense under Coach Dawson, just what he's done for this team, his leadership, how he's brought out the best in not only you but the entire offensive line.
Yeah, Coach Dawson's been fantastic. He's such an awesome person. He's a great coach. He just does a really good job of allowing us to play complementary football. We do a lot of good stuff in run games here and there, and then he's able to make it look the same on play action. So he's awesome. He's one of my favorite coaches I've ever played for. For everything he's done and everything he's done for me.
And then as a quick follow-up, just what you can say when you look at Indiana on film and what their defense creates, what that defensive line brings to the table, just what you've seen from them and what that matchup's going to be like in the trenches for this championship.
Yeah, it's going to be a great matchup. I've had a ton of success this year in Memphis, so they're a group of really good players who understand each other very well. They understand the defense scheme they're playing really well. They don't make mistakes, to be honest, and it's going to be a really big challenge. They do a good job of creating confusion and chaos in front of some of the games and the stunts they have. So, once again, the playoffs will be a really big challenge on our hands, and today we're going to practice and ready for it.
Talked about Indiana not making a lot of mistakes, but he said, listen, it's another challenge. They've had challenges all the way through. They started on the road. This is the funny thing about Miami. They're the 10 seed, so they don't play at home in the first round. They don't play at home in the second round. They play down in Dallas. They don't play at home in the third round, the semifinal round. They're in Atlanta, but they get to play at home for the national championship. The team that wasn't supposed to be there, according to many, 5% chance to make it. The ACC's down. All of these fabricated things that don't have substantiated evidence. And here's Miami, the Road Warriors. They get to play their final game of the season at home. And who's that guy under center? The guy that they constantly scrutinize, that they say he's not good enough. He's got to throw for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions to win the game. Like they don't have a good balanced rushing attack with Mark Fletcher Jr. And what's Fernando Mendoza's completion percentage? 73%. What's Carson Beck's? 73.3. Carson Beck, here he is on the journey of being a champion at Georgia and now playing for a championship at Miami. How many players in college football history have brought 2 teams to the national championship under center and in the midst? So take that. How many have made it to a national championship with one team in one conference, then go to another team in another conference and go play for a national championship? What is the statistics on that? Very slim. Now add into that in between Georgia and Miami and these 2 runs and the recent runs he's had to the national championship, amidst all of that, in between that, he had an injury to his ulnar collateral ligament on his throwing arm. And here he is, the man who doesn't get a lot of credit, heading to the national championship with another team from another conference.
Carson, looking at what you've been able to do, Georgia, you're there, you win a national championship, you go through an injury, and when you have that injury, you have to come back and you come to Miami, and now you're fighting for another national championship. People don't talk about the grit enough for you, in my opinion, of what it took at Georgia, what it takes here, 2 different conferences, 2 different roads, and an injury in between. Just what you can say about that journey.
Yeah, it's been an unbelievable journey. Obviously, without all of these people here in Miami, my teammates, my coaches, especially and the training staff, especially. I mean, they had to deal with me at 6 a.m. every single morning going through rehab of my elbow, and that's not easy, right? Obviously, there's times where you doubt yourself through that process. There's times where it's really hard to see a light at the end of the tunnel through that process, and without everybody around me, pushing me, motivating me, like, you're going to be good, like, keep going. And obviously, at the end of the day, I have to make the decision and the choice myself, but having everyone else around me really, really helped that process. And again, the way that this year has gone, it's been unbelievable. It's been ups and downs, a roller coaster ride, but the way that this team has been able to handle adversity and just bounce back from so many doubters and people, not believing in us, it's been pretty unbelievable. And I'm super excited that this team has this opportunity to go play this national championship game.
Fantastic answer from Carson Beck about this road. Here's his thoughts on the guy on the other side. They're going up against each other in the national championship. Then they'll be going up against each other in the NFL draft. Here's Carson Beck on Fernando Mendoza. Carson, we have you on one side and Fernando Mendoza on the other. You're both playing for a national championship, and you're both going to be in the NFL draft going up against each other. What can you say about Fernando Mendoza on the other side and just what you've taken with you having 73% completion percentage? He's also at 73%.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't obviously been able to watch him much. Most of my football watching goes into defense, but from what I have been able to see was when I was preparing for the Ohio State game and watching their Big Ten championship. Obviously, he made a lot of big plays in that one. He seems like a very talented quarterback, a great person. So again, I believe it'll be an awesome matchup for me, for him, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Coming from Carson Beck here in our coverage of the college football playoff is Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora comes to you live, broadcasting from Miami, Florida. Before we get into the offensive and defensive coordinators and the head coach of the Miami Hurricanes and my Q&As from my coverage of the 2026 College Football Playoff National Championship and overall CFP and the college football season, Murph, any thoughts from what you heard from the players at Miami?
Yeah, it seems as though the defense is going to have their hands full, and it sounds like they know that. One thing that I kind of take away from that is especially thinking of when you asked the question about Mario Cristobal and why he's the right guy to be the leader. Being that he went to school there, and the fact that he is and embodies everything it means to be a Miami Hurricane. Yeah. I think these defensive players seemingly embrace that. And it seems like the whole team, but especially the defense, embraces that to the point where, they're going to, not that they wouldn't anyway, but they're going to do everything in their power to fight for this guy and to, to try to dominate in the trenches. And that's what it's going to take to win this football game. Ruben Ban Jr. is going to have to get to Fernando Mendoza. Otherwise, they have no chance of winning this football game. They got to get pressure in his face. They have to get him off his game. Like, if Miami has any chance of winning this football game, they have to play their game, which is rushing the quarterback, sacking the quarterback, and forcing turnovers, which Indiana doesn't do very much. And these defensive guys, it seems like they know that. Offensively, just hearing from Carson Beck, we kind of talked about, obviously, his journey in getting to Miami. He's been to 2 national championships. He's won 2 national championships. He knows what it takes to win a national championship. So I think you can kind of tell his messaging to the team is going to be the same as it probably was at Georgia all those couple of years ago. Just give it everything you got, leave it all on the field, and at the end of the day, hopefully we'll be the one left standing. And I do feel as though there's a little bit of a difference between what Cignetti has his guys at Indiana, how they kind of think about things, how they go about their business, and comparatively to what Miami does.
Yeah.
It seems like Indiana's almost got that, next man up. We are, we're not intimidated. Job's not finished. To me, I get the sense that Miami almost sees the writing on the wall that, like, they're not supposed to be there. They're kind of playing with house money at this point. I don't think that bodes too well for Miami. And we're obviously, we're not quite there yet to where we're making our picks, but realistic. It seems to me, and the sentiment that you're seeing down there obviously could be a little bit different, but it seems to me, just based on listening to these guys and what you're kind of seeing on social media over the course of the last week to 10 days, that Miami kind of, it's not that they don't want it, but they know they're playing with house money, and they're kind of just happy to be there, but almost like they know the writing is on the wall that they're probably not going to win this football game based on what Indiana's been able to do. But we'll see. This is we're about 8 hours away from kickoff at this point, so obviously that'll we'll see in about 11 hours or so who ends up hoisting the trophy at the end. That's just kind of my perspective on what I've seen. You can kind of see it in how they're answering questions. They're being very quick and concise. They're not, they weren't really going as in depth as, the guys from Indiana. And it could just be, them personally. And, I know full well I've interviewed plenty of guys that don't talk much. That they're going to, give you short answers. But, to me, it just seems like Miami knows that they're, they see the writing on the wall.
Well, I will tell you the opposite. Mario Cristobal has been asked the question numerous times, including yesterday, and on the field when they beat Ole Miss, about the outside noise. And he's talked, and I'm going to paraphrase here, but he said, I don't understand the question. Why does anyone's opinion who has no effect on the game and is not in our team, what does that mean? Like, you're not here with us. You're not playing with us. You have no opportunity to affect the outcome of the game on the field. So why do we care about what you have to say? Miami's not just happy to be here. They know that Indiana doesn't have a lot of blemishes, but here's the thing. Both of these teams are underdogs.
That's true.
Both of these teams are underdogs. Because Miami's undefeated, and because the ACC has a negative narrative with national media, not myself, but other people, because there's been a narrative about the ACC for the last 3 years or so, and because there's been a positive narrative about the Big Ten, some people just regurgitate information and they throw it back up without even researching it. I'm not saying the Big Ten's not good, but the Big Ten's top heavy, where the ACC has gotten better with schools that weren't supposed to be good. Miami, Virginia, Duke, SMU. So the reality of it all, and Cal's gotten better too, the reality of it all is both of these teams are underdogs. But Miami's coming from an underdog conference right now in narratives, and Indiana is not. People are walking into this game saying, well, Indiana should blow them out because they blow everybody out, and they should win this game because, you know, they're the best team and they're undefeated and they're fantastic. But how many people were covering Curt Cignetti when he was at James Madison? How many people were talking about the Dukes of James Madison? How many people even knew the Sun Belt was a conference? Did they know what the logo looked like? So it's funny how they jumped on the Cignetti train really this year, maybe a little bit last year, but definitely this year. And here's Mario Cristobal that spent numerous seasons at Miami. I was with him when he came to Miami that first ACC kickoff and got to speak with him right out of the gate going into his first season in his return to his alma mater where he played and got an opportunity, which he's eternally grateful for and talks about all the time with Jimmy Johnson giving him a chance. He said, I'm a little kid. I grow up. I go over there. I watch these guys practice. I'm seeing these guys. I want to be on the field. That's my dream. But I didn't know if I was worthy enough to be. I didn't know if I was good enough to be. I wanted to be, but I didn't know if I ever would be. And then he got the chance to be a part of these great runs and have great teammates. And some of these teammates, you know, wanting to be there with him in this run here and obviously by his side and by the side of their brethren that are currently playing for the Miami Hurricanes and making their own history. They're both underdogs. Indiana is not a team that has been relevant in football. Miami's a team that used to be relevant in football. But Indiana's the number 1 seed. Miami's the 10 seed. But the conversation has been Indiana. It's been about the Indiana fans. It's about Indiana's season. It's about what Indiana's done. Undercutting the fact that Miami's at home, that people that have loved to watch them play are now going back to the stadium where they've watched them all season. They're driving down the road. The city was not lit up with any red last night. It was orange and green. Now, there were signs that said, Indiana, we are with you. There were like those digital signs that were in certain places, and there were Indiana fans tailgating, and I drove by one of them. But this is Miami. This is their team. This is their city. So I want to be clear with people. These are two underdogs. Whoever we get as the national champion is a team that in Miami's case hasn't done it in a while, in Indiana, a team who's never done it. Indiana is getting the nod because the narrative has been them. But Miami is not happy to just be here. Miami's not going through the motions. Miami's not listening to the outside noise. And Miami absolutely doesn't think the game is over before it's played. These guys are some dogs, and both of these teams are going to bring fire to the field. And I cannot wait to see what this looks like. I hope for our benefit and the benefit of these two teams that this game is neck and neck. It's one possession. I hope it goes to overtime. Heck, I hope it goes to multiple overtimes. But neither one of these teams thinks it's said and done, thinks it's spoken for, and nobody's happy to just be here. They want to win. Let's go to the coaching staffs here of the Miami Hurricanes. And we'll go to my first conversation, which will be with the offensive coordinator of the Canes, that being Shannon Dawson. This is what he had to say on what the staff saw in Carson Beck when they were looking for a quarterback in the portal after Cam Ward went number 1 overall to the NFL.
What did this coaching staff see in Carson Beck kind of in the beginning of it all, going through the transfer portal and trying to find the right guy to lead after Cam Ward? Just what was it about him that stuck out to you the most that stays true to today?
The one thing is he's played in a lot of big games. And we looked at his career as one of, man, this kid's got a lot of experience. We felt like we were a really good football team, and we felt like we needed somebody that's played in some big games because we were hoping to play in some big games. And he's been in a lot of them. And so that was the one thing at the beginning that I looked at. Was like, man, this kid's won a lot of games, but he's won a lot of big games and been in a lot of big games. And so that experience was very, very much so a big point in taking him. You know, now you got to have the talent. Like I had to turn and look. everybody evaluates quarterbacks differently, right? And I think 99% of the people screw it up because ultimately you have to be an accurate thrower from the pocket to be a productive quarterback, period. Everybody gets enamored with, oh, this, that, the kid can run a four. I don't care. Like, if you can't throw it accurately from the pocket, then I'm not that good of a coach. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So ultimately, that's what I wanted to see on film. Like, what kind of player is he? Like, what is he? Is he a progression quarterback? Is he sitting in the pocket, finding lanes and triggering through it with accuracy? And that's what he was. And you don't always see that when you put on tape. You know, a lot of offenses today are RPO driven, where it's hell, I can play quarterback. But ultimately, we do it a little different way. Like, you got to dissect defenses, you got to throw through lanes, intermediate passing, like so. And there's reads. And so ultimately, that's what I wanted to see, and that's what he did. He was a very cerebral player, and so you can see that on tape. Like, he was really good from the pocket. I do think he's more athletic than people give him credit for. We've urged him to make some plays with his feet, which he has over the last month or so. But ultimately, that's what I want. I want a guy, and I want one like that's what I want all the time. Is if you can't make your layups, then offensive football is a struggle.
If you can't make your layups, then offensive football is a struggle. Not looking for an RPO quarterback, looking for a quarterback that could make reads, have intermediate play. And he said that Carson Beck stuck out to him because Carson Beck played in meaningful games and won those meaningful games. So looking at his history, his experience really stuck out to Shannon Dawson, and saying that he's not credited for the athleticism that he has. And I would agree that Carson Beck's not getting a lot of credit right now. On the defensive side, Corey Heatherman, on his roads that both he and Kurt Signetti took, putting JMU on the map and crossing paths with the coach that will be on the other side in this national championship game tonight in Miami, Florida. The roads you've both taken, and to put something on the map like a James Madison when those conferences and those teams don't always get that credit.
Yeah, I think, you look at, especially different places he's been and what's kind of defined him as a coach and what's built him or prepared him for where he is right now. Same thing with different places that I've been. I think you go through so many different things as a coach. There's the ups, the downs, you go out and you learn from your experiences all the time, the good, the bad, the ugly. And, I think that's where, my opportunity to work with him, I learned a ton of football. He had been in different situations. He had been, his experiences at NC State, his experiences all the way back to like Rice, his experiences at Alabama that he would talk about, different situations that they had at IUP that he learned from, that, he wanted to learn from and put us in a better situation. So for me, it was awesome learning and seeing all those details. And then the same thing for me. When I was young, I was in a Division III room where you didn't have the support staff. You didn't have the amount of people that you have here. Even when we were at JMU, I look back at like our staff now or Indiana staff, and you look back where some of those people were when we were at JMU. We had 6 guys on defense. I think we had the full-time coaches, and I think Ben, who's at Indiana right now, was one of the GA in the first year. I think the second year he became an analyst, and we had a second GA, so we had 7 guys. But you look at how everything grows and how we developed and how we grow as people and as coaches. It's awesome to see the success that he's had. You can kind of tell. Like my first meeting, how organized it was, how detailed it was, how process-driven it was, and what the plan was. And you don't really talk about the ultimate goals. Okay, how do we get better today? How do we improve from this that happened yesterday? How do we develop this area? And I think that's why he's been so successful. And I was lucky to be a part of that and get an opportunity to learn from him. And I've been lucky in a lot of different situations. All the way back to where I started in Division III, to the guys that I was coached by in high school and college. And then being in different situations with Harrison,
Honestly, I feel like
Coach Black, Coach Shimano, now Coach Cristobal. The amount I've learned just this year of different details and different practice situations and putting guys in different, seeing things differently, game management wise, and I've learned a ton from all these different people I've been blessed with.
That coming from Corey Heatherman, speaking on his road that started in Division III, which Murph and I know all too well. Starting in Division III athletics and now having the opportunity at the highest level of college football in the FBS to coach in a national championship game and coach at home as the defensive coordinator and linebackers coach of your one and only Miami Hurricanes. Final conversation that we have today is with the head man of the Miami Hurricanes, Mario Cristobal. I've gotten to speak with him a lot in my coverage of the ACC and, of course, in this college football playoff. Here's Mario on hindsight 2020, the decision to bring in Carson Beck via the portal. Coach, looking at Carson Beck and just what he's done, I mean, that decision to bring him in through the transfer portal, going back to that hindsight 2020, just what he's meant to this program and what his leadership has meant to getting to this moment.
Sure, it's been a difference maker, mutual decision, right? Certainly he had to make one, and so did we. And what we've all witnessed is a guy who, when he has the right supporting cast and the right type of regiment structure, scheme, play calling, everything that goes with it, and again, the right type of support, surrounded by the right people, high achievers, the mentality of people that want to be great and do right by each other. That sky's the limit for him, and again, I think he's just getting started. I think that his best football is still ahead of him, and certainly looking forward to watching him play his best game on Monday night.
Love how Coach ended with that. Believes his best football is ahead of him, speaking of Carson Beck, and looking forward to him playing his best game tonight in this national championship game. And he said it was a mutual decision. Beck had to choose Miami. Miami had to choose him. He talked about putting the right people behind him, having that support, having the right place for Carson Beck. And it has all worked out to this moment. And I cannot say this enough, folks. When we go by the numbers, and I broke this down last week, but if you go by the numbers of these two teams, they are very even statistically in a lot of ways. When you look at Indiana, Indiana has sacked their opponent 45 times. Miami has sacked their opponent 47 times this season. As far as interceptions go, Indiana has 18 interceptions. Miami has 16 interceptions. Forced fumbles this season, Indiana has 12 forced fumbles. Miami has 13 forced fumbles. When you look at their quarterbacks, as I had mentioned earlier to Carson Beck, we all talk about the Heisman Trophy winner, and rightly so, and Fernando Mendoza, who has a 73% completion percentage. Carson Beck, who doesn't get the credit he deserves, has a 73.3% completion percentage. Fernando Mendoza has thrown for 3,349 yards. Carson Beck has thrown for 3,581 yards. The touchdowns, definitely on the side of Mendoza. 41-6 his touchdown interception. Beck is 29-11. Both teams have a 1,000-yard back. Miami and Mark Fletcher Jr. has 1,080 yards. Roman Hemby of Indiana has 1,060 yards. You have Sharmar Brown, who is behind Mark Fletcher, who's brought a lot of success, and behind Hemby, you have Kaylon Black. In the receiving core for the Miami Hurricanes, you have a 1,000-yard receiver in his true freshman season in Malachi Toney with 1,089 yards and 99 receptions, so he's about to hit 100 tonight, we would anticipate. Omar Cooper on the other side, they do not have a 1,000-yard receiver, but Omar Cooper has 866 yards. Behind that, Elijah Surratt has 802. Behind Malachi Toney, we have Keelan Marion, who has 740. C.J. Daniels has 495 yards. When we look at the output of receivers, that goes a little bit more on the side of the Indiana Hoosiers, with Cooper and Surratt both having double-digit touchdowns, where Malachi Toney needs one more to get a double-digit touchdown. Marion has 2, and 7 touchdowns for C.J. Daniels. In the kicking game, there is a difference here as you look at Carter Davis, who has a 73.9% field goal percentage, as opposed to Nico Radicic, who has a field goal percentage for Indiana that is in a lot better of a situation at 94.1%. And then Brendan Franke is 50%. He's only attempted 2, but the one that he attempted was from 58 yards that he made. And so this is a team that statistically, both teams, are pretty evenly matched. But we talk about the big bad wolf of Indiana coming to blow Miami's house down, but you forget that a lot of wind comes from hurricanes. And these two teams have a lot of similarities when it comes to their statistics. So Murph, final thoughts when we look at these teams statistically before we head into our final fast break.
Yeah, statistically they are pretty similar. I mean, I think the biggest thing to pay attention to is just going to be the takeaways. Both of these teams force a lot of takeaways. The winner of this game is going to be the team that forces the most takeaways. If there are no takeaways in this game, that's going to be very impressive. But I firmly believe there will be turnovers in this football game. Whichever team turns the ball over the most is probably going to come out on the losing end, just because both of these teams are known to really take advantage of points, and score a lot of points off turnovers.
Yeah.
Both of these teams force a lot, as we said. We'll see who ends up coming out on top in that regard. But, you look at Indiana and Mendoza's been, at least in the college football playoff, he had 5 touchdowns in the semifinal game, I think, to 5 different receivers. He had 6 touchdowns in the quarterfinal game, I think, to 6 different receivers. So he spreads the ball around. That's something I expect to see happen against Miami. He's getting a lot of guys involved. That makes it really difficult on a defense to zero in on a certain guy because he could just throw to somebody else because he's got a lot of weapons that he believes in and that he trusts. So it'll be really interesting to see who wins that battle. And then who also wins the turnover battle as well, because that will determine the outcome of this football game.
Miami has to get Indiana to make mistakes, and they have to capitalize on those mistakes. It's Miami and Indiana both having a strong defense. Who's going to capitalize? Indiana doesn't make a lot of mistakes. Not that Miami makes a ton of mistakes, but Indiana has played without a lot of blemishes. Miami's going to need them to turn the ball over while not turning the ball over themselves, capitalizing on those extra possessions. You got two teams that can run the ball successfully, which is demoralizing to the team you go up against, slowly and systematically backing them into their own end zone. And their defensive takeaways, like we talked about, have been huge, be it a forced fumble or having that interception, and of course getting to the quarterback. So with statistically these two underdogs having a pretty even matchup, it comes down to who takes the ball away, what do they do with their possessions, and not if they can score, but how much time can they also take off the clock to not let that other quarterback get on the field. Carson Beck does not have to throw for 300 yards in order to be a good quarterback. But by the way, he has more yards than Fernando Mendoza. So we forget about that, and we forget about the fact that they treat him like a 59% completion percentage quarterback. They're both at 73, and he's got 0.3% on Mendoza. So we will see how both of these teams respond, how both of these offenses moved. They've been two tremendous stories happening parallel to each other. Now those roads converge, and we can only pick one champion. Murph and I will do that from Miami after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, going live from South Beach area here in sunny Florida, the second hub of our company and Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. Stay with us. And I have another note from D'Angelo Pons that has to do with the sports card community. Don't you miss that.
Avicoli's restaurant, located on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York, has been serving our community for decades. Your place to go for home cooking on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road is just minutes from Liverpool High School. And every single month, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is on site, on location, with Liverpool sports, student athletes, coaches, and administration telling their stories throughout the year. We look forward to seeing you on site at Avicoli's for their casual pizza side, their fine dining, as well as their bar. And of course, you can order online at myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. For takeout, delivery, and catering, call 315-622-5100. That's 315-622-5100. Come on into the neighborhood spot Avicoli's, open 7 days a week in Liverpool, New York. K9 Campground Dog Boarding is your home away from home for your furry loving friends. Open 7 days a week with drop-off and pickup times in the morning and later on in the day and early evening. K9 Campground Dog Boarding is the spot to trust with your dog for short and long-term stays. Call 315-299-4013 for more information. That's 315-299-4013 and go to k9campground.com as well. That's K, the number 9, KAMP ground.com, where you will find all of the information on their different cabins, which include the classic cabin, executive cabin, grand cabin, and luxury cabin. K9 Campground Dog Boarding, where your dog will have indoor and outdoor areas as well as their own private cabin for any size, any breed, as well as dogs with different needs. Dog parents and dogs alike choose K9 Campground Dog Boarding. Isn't that right, Lily? Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks comes to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. They're your one-stop sports card and trading card shop. You get close to your team, close to your favorite player, close to the games you love to play and the characters that you love when it comes to Disney, Lorcana, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, One Piece, hockey, boxing, soccer, baseball, basketball, football. So many amazing things. And, of course, they have Bowman U, the new Bowman U for 2025 that I just opened. And I got a story about that. And we'll talk about it in just a moment, but not before I tell you to be with us this Thursday, January 22nd, on-site, on location. GG Cards and Breaks is back at the Wildcat Sports Pub. My two partners together here on the screen and together every other month when it comes to trade night. We'll see you out there with Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Disney, Lorcana, all your sports cards. Head out to the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Get some fried dough, get some pizza, get some wings, get some chicken Caesar wraps, some awesome drinks, amazing experience in the private party room. We will be there with all you sports card and trading card collectors this Thursday, January 22nd. GG Cards and Breaks heads to the Wildcat in Camillus, New York, and we'll be there from 6 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. at least and Murph and I will be able to hang out together. We can't wait to see you over at GG Cards and Breaks Trade Night with two awesome partners on Wake Up Call. Here inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, speaking of cards, I had the opportunity to speak with D'Angelo Pons about this card, and I asked him, I said, I got this 2 of 5 where you had this special inscription. I said, why did you write that inscription? He goes, I don't remember doing it. He goes, I think they told me that I had to write it, where he wrote first team all Big Ten. I said, should your autograph be worth more than Fernando Mendoza? He goes, more than the Heisman? No, shouldn't be worth more than the Heisman. But I told him that I got the card, and I showed him a picture of it, and I wanted him to see it. And so shout out to D'Angelo Pons. Right after Christmas, I didn't know you when I got this card. And I said to him, I go, it's like a $500-$600 card, man. But I didn't know him when I got the card. Then I got to speak with him a couple times, and I got to see him and be the closest that I've been to him just a couple days ago at Media Day. So D'Angelo Pons, from opening one of the coolest cards, if not the coolest card I've ever gotten, from a box to meeting you in person, to hearing your story, to intercepting your quarterback in high school right down here in Miami, to being at James Madison and Kurt Signetti taking a chance on you and you on him, and then you following him to Indiana, taking a chance on each other once again, and all the success that you had. And, of course, in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, watching you on the first play of the game from scrimmage after the kickoff, taking the first pass from Dante Moore of the Oregon Ducks at the 25-yard line, intercepting it by jumping a route, I believe on Elijah Surratt, and taking it to the house. The first play of the game was a defensive touchdown by D'Angelo Pons. I appreciate you, and I'm happy that I got to bring cards, which I'm sure Josh and Anthony and the whole team, Joel and Alex and everybody at GG Cards and Breaks, including Murph, you'll be happy to know that D'Angelo and I did speak about his card. We had some fun with it, and he said, no, my card should not be worth more than Fernando Mendoza. He won the Heisman.
Yeah. Now, I mean, we talked about this last week. Like, have we thought about posting it on eBay, depending on what happens, and then buying back something similar in 6 months when it's a third of the price?
Yeah, I'm probably going to look at posting it. I'll bring it out with me if I still have it to trade night, but it's probably going to get posted. But,
yeah,
at the same time, it's like I don't want to get rid of it because I just told D'Angelo about it, and I told him that it's a valued part of my collection. So
yeah, I mean, fair enough. I mean, like I said, like I would never, tell you that you're wrong for hanging on to a card. At least, if you want to keep it for yourself, I'm all for it. Obviously, I think more in terms of like investing in what you can, and what you can maybe get with the money that you get for the card. Because my thought would be if you post and personally, I would list it on eBay before you leave for the game.
Yeah.
At, some price that's not ridiculous, but borderline ridiculous, with a best offer for half of that price.
Yeah.
Or that somebody can offer you at as little as half of that price and then go from there. Because if they win tonight, you'll probably see some guys going after cards from Indiana. And I guarantee you, 6 months from now, maybe you may not be able to get the out of 5 back, but I'm willing to bet you'll be able to get a good one of him at a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of the price that this one costs.
Yeah, and like I said, it's 2 of 5. So to my Hoosier fans that are watching, there it is. This is your card. It is 2 of 5. It's a color match. It's the first card ever made of him, which is why it says first in the corner for Bowman First. It's got the Indiana logo. It's red on red. It's a refractor. And it's got his autograph and a special inscription. Some just have his autograph without the inscription. This says first team all Big Ten for D'Angelo Pons, who we've seen on the offensive side of the ball, caught a pass on 3rd and 3 against Oregon to keep the drive alive. And like I said, first play from scrimmage in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl that I was on site on location for, he took it to the house, and I stood in that end zone to tell my game story at the end of the game in that Indiana Hoosiers end zone. So shout out to D'Angelo Pons and all the work he's been doing. It's now time. It's all come to this. In Miami, Florida, in South Beach, a few hours before the game on 2026 College Football Playoff National Championship Monday on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Travel Great Lakes Honda City Studios. And in my opinion, no better way to travel than in a Honda. It saved my life when I was hit by a drunk driver, and this product has been great to me over a decade. So head to Great Lakes Honda City on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. And of course, you can go at all times to GreatLakesHondaCity.com to look at their cars that are new and used. And at Great Lakes Honda City, you can buy and lease. Murph, I will defer to you first. Indiana, Miami. Let me do something here while we're getting ready to do this, because I'm going to make this fun. Who do you got to win the national championship game between the Hoosiers and the Canes in Miami?
Well, I've kind of been teasing it. I teased it last week. I've been teasing it earlier in the episode. I got Indiana, and I got Indiana by a lot. And I'm not just saying that sitting here saying, oh, they've been destroying everybody. I think they're going to blow them out for that reason. No. I sit here firmly believing, having watched both of these teams play multiple games.
Yeah.
Indiana is a far superior football team, and they have dismantled two teams that I would argue are just as good, if not even better than Miami so far in this playoff. Alabama, I do firmly believe, was better than Miami. I firmly believe they were a better football team than Miami. And Indiana dismantled them. Oregon, maybe Miami's a little bit better than Oregon.
Miami's better than Oregon.
But again,
this year,
they dismantled Oregon twice. Indiana's an 8.5-point favorite. I see them covering by quite a... I will... If I'm going to make a score prediction, I would say Indiana 35, Miami 17 would be my official prediction.
Okay. So you've seen it written on the screen with Murph that it says Indiana. It's been signed into existence. I've been asked this question on other people's shows. I was on Herb FM Sports Radio. They asked my prediction. I said, you'll have to wait for it. I got asked my prediction toward the end of last week. I said, you're going to have to wait for it. It's now time on game day for me to give my prediction. I've held out. I've gone back and forth. Sometimes I feel 50-50. Right now I feel 51-49. Like I said, I picked Miami to win all three of their games in the college football playoff when I looked at those matchups by round. I picked Indiana to win their two games in the college football playoff as I looked at those matchups by round. I've seen both of these teams play live and on site on location, and now I'm here in Miami to watch this final moment. I'd love it if they both could win the national championship, because I don't want to see either one of their runs end. Miami has been tremendous. Now that Miami's back on the national scene, it's like they never left. Indiana has never been this good, but it feels like they always have been. It's the strange thing about this road, is it feels like there was no time in between the last time Miami was at the top of the mountain to this moment. Now that they're back, it feels like that window was shorter, and it feels like Indiana was always relevant. Both of these coaches have done a tremendous job. I love the fact that I've gotten to be around Curt Cignetti and talk with him, and I've loved for years having the opportunity to talk with Mario Cristobal. I've loved my experience with the players and the coaches. I've loved my experience on this run. I, in my heart, really want to see Miami win in Miami. As an impartial broadcaster, I don't know the last time I saw a team play almost perfect football. It looked very easy for Indiana to beat Oregon. It's hard to beat a team twice, but not if you're Indiana. I thought they'd beat Alabama, who arguably had the toughest schedule in America this year in the FBS, them in Texas. And they didn't just beat Alabama, they embarrassed Alabama. They beat Alabama by 35 points, which is 5 touchdowns. In the last game against Oregon, 5 touchdowns from Fernando Mendoza through the air, no interceptions, 4 different receivers caught those 5 touchdowns. So my 51 to 49%, though I respect them both, I want them both to win. I hope this game is one possession. I hope we have extra time. I hope that I'm hanging out in Miami well into the night in the greatest of ways. But I have to go Indiana with this one. That's my pick. That's Murph and I both going Indiana in this matchup inside of the college football playoff in the 2026 national championship game that brings the culmination of the 2025-26 season to us. We have made our picks. You can make yours now. All you have to do is go to X, the former Twitter, at CallDT. That's CALLDT. Click follow and make sure you vote in the poll that is up right now. Some of you have already voted, and it is 50-50. Who do you think will win tonight between the Indiana Hoosiers and the Miami Hurricanes? We are at 50-50 right now, and you can vote all the way up until almost game time on X, at CallDT, CALLDT, for Indiana or for Miami. Who are you picking to win? From the great state of Florida, from my second home of Dan Tortora Broadcast Media and our product Wake Up Call, for the wonderful hospitality of the college football playoff and everyone that's been here, our media hotel, all of the workers, the entire city, the experience. And like I said, how do you top a place whose welcome mat is the ocean and the sand? Miami, you have done an incredible job. You have made an outstanding memory for me, and hopefully for tens of thousands of people. I cannot wait for this moment. I love it dearly that these two teams made it. I respect all the teams on their road. And I love the fact that Wake Up Call not only exists, thanks be to God, but that we've been able to broadcast all over and outside of this country. Miami, you're now a pin in my map of a place where we've gotten to go live from. Thank you, Florida. Thank you, Miami. Thank you, South Beach. Thank you to the Indiana Hoosiers and the Miami Hurricanes. Thank you to the college football playoff. Don't ever stop believing in your dreams. One day, with hard work, dedication, determination, faith, morals, values, and being a relationship-based person and not a transactional person, you will look around you, and God will not only have given you what you hoped for, but His plan is better than yours, and it will be beyond your wildest dreams. From the moment that I started at Marywood, I believed, and He believed in me. This little old kid from Syracuse that wasn't nothing, according to some, did his job from the beach yesterday. And that is only from God that this is possible. Hard work, determination, dedication, faith, it's all a part of it. But I am nothing without Him. And I am nowhere without Him. And I love the coaches and players talking about it. Fernando Mendoza, Mario Cristobal, Ruben Bain Jr. I appreciate all of this. So, my words on this run to the College Football Playoff National Championship, this has been the most exciting career year of my life in college football. I have never been this I've never been more dedicated, more focused, more layered, and, you know, releasing my own top 25, voting in all these polls. The Eddie Robinson Award to Top Coach of the Year I voted in, and they honored Clark Lee from Vanderbilt, which is small. That's a small world for me. He was an assistant to Scott Schaefer. He was a linebackers coach for Scott Schaefer at Syracuse. That's where I met him. And then to be able, all these years later, to vote in a national award for Coach of the Year and have it be him and have that all be here in Miami has been incredible. I want to thank the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. I want to thank the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, the Capital One Orange Bowl, the College Football Playoff Bowl season, the executive committee that's behind all of the bowl games. And I want to thank each of you for watching, for listening, for being a part of this journey. I guess the best way to end this show is to show you this. Maybe you've seen it. Maybe you haven't. We don't own the rights to the music, so I won't play the music because I want to make sure that you get to see this. But this moment in my career meant a lot to me. On the mega yacht with the 360 camera, to be able to bring you my personality, my flavor, and my leather jacket. There is one more game to be played for the 2025-26 season, and this was my view. Miami, Indiana, they're going to let us know who the best team in college football is this year. And I appreciate you being along for the ride. Murph, as always, God bless, no stress, and do your best to you and to everyone, to myself. And thank you for joining me over the years and being a part of the Dan Tortora Broadcast Media family to bring people a show as only we can do it. I don't have the perfect words to be sitting in Miami doing this right now. I just know that I've told myself a million times during this broadcast to live in the moment, to enjoy it. And I find myself just taking a lot of deep breaths because life is great and hard work does pay off. And God takes care of those that give to him. And I could be a million times better because he's done so much more for me than I've even thought of doing for him, which I need to change. But he has been good. He has been gracious. He has been kind. And God don't play about me, is what I would say. Thank you for being with me on this, Murph.
Of course. It's been a great season of college football. It's been a lot of fun. We've spent more time covering college football this year than I think we ever have, and it's been so much fun. The chaos scenario that actually happened in not just the ACC, but in college football in general. You know, we saw 2 group of 5 teams make it to the playoff. We got to see a team that has never won a national championship, that hasn't been relevant in a long time, make it all the way to the national championship. Very well could win a national championship. We both predicted them to win a national championship by the end of the night. And we'll see. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you enjoy the game. I hope all of you at home enjoy the game. And I'm also looking forward to being with you this week, getting to spend a little bit of time with you, getting to go catch a Syracuse Orange basketball game, getting to spend some time at trade night at the Wildcat, which, by the way, folks, I have a lot of money to spend on cards. So please bring me your cards. Ideally, $50 and up is what I'm looking for. So please bring me your cards. We will, I'm happy to buy, sell, and trade. We're going to have a ton of fun at the Wildcat. I'm so excited that I can finally make it up for one of these trade nights, and looking forward to that. We'll get to spend some time together. I don't know what we're doing yet other than going to the Syracuse game, but that's the beauty of it. We get to kind of go up and see where things take us, and I'm very much looking forward to it. We'll have to hit that Chinese spot that's by your house one more time though. That place was so good. That place was really good Chinese food, I will say that. Best that I've had since the place that I go to down here closed. So But I'm really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the game. I'm looking forward to seeing you, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of you on Thursday night as well.
Yeah, Murph and I get to spend extra time together and some time in person this week, which is always a blessing when you get to be around people that you appreciate and you love and that you trust and enjoy being around. So enjoy the game however you're doing it today. I hope that you will do it with us and that you will be with us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT, wakeupcalldt.com, the hub of everything we do with Wake Up Call, and of course on youtube.com /Wake Up Call DT. For now, from the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, I say to you, God bless, no stress, do your best. On College Football Playoff National Championship Monday, thank you all for all that you do. Thank you for your support. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And if I can, on this MLK Day, I want to share with you my favorite quote from Martin Luther King. And I know there's a bunch out there. There's ones that people share at all the time, all the time. There's a lot that we see, but there's one that just sticks with me. And that is the one that says, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Share your light with the world. Love one another. Support your teams. Do it respectfully. And I'm excited to spend tonight in Miami with tens of thousands of you wonderful, wonderful people. May you get to the game safely and have a fantastic experience. May the players be healthy and safe. May we all celebrate happiness by being ourselves and being with God. May you put God first. May you be kind to yourself and others. May you travel safe. May you have fun. To everybody watching all over the world, let's make history tonight with a beautiful national championship. College football playoff, I'm happy you exist, and I'm thankful that you pulled out a chair and let me sit in it. Murph, I'll talk with you soon.
Yes, sir. I will see you on Wednesday, my friend.
Sounds good, buddy. That coming from Murphalation Station here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Murph with us Mondays on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and what we call DT and Murphy. I want to thank you all for being here in the broadcast from the Great Lakes Honda City Studios on the road in Miami, Florida for the 2026 College Football Playoff National Championship. You've heard from the head coaches. You've heard from the offensive and defensive coordinators. You've heard from the student athletes. And now you've heard our prediction. Up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe, we promise you 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We promise you 2 hours. And today, we went over 3 once again, as we're into lunchtime and almost to 12:30 on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. Once the shows go live, they jump into the archive. You can be sure that this one will be here momentarily on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. And of course, many thanks to our Central and Upstate New York partners, Great Lakes, Honda City, Carvel, DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, GG Cards and Breaks, Myers Creek, with 2 locations. You will find them on the countryside on 33 Rippleton Road in Cazenovia, and in the Syracuse Inner Harbor on 720 Van Rensselaer Street in Syracuse, New York. Their hoodie is so comfortable, and I was rocking Myers Creek down here at the College Football Playoff, giving them some love and a plug down the coast from where they are in central New York. Big time thanks to Brian's Landing, Game Point Sports Complex, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Chick-fil-A DeWitt, Pizza Man Chick-fil-A Cicero, Mon Paz, the snack capital of the world, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Avicoli's Mother's Cupboard, where I have my own sandwich, the Cuse McMother, bacon, egg, and cheese inside of 2 pieces of French toast. Pick it up and eat it like a sandwich, cut it up and have it with some syrup. 7 days a week on 3709 James Street in Syracuse, open 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Speaking of Mother's Cupboard, and we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse. You will find the Bobcats with you every month here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora of over 4 years. You have the opportunity to hear from them, and you can check out our Bobcat Buzz by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our BSC Syracuse playlist. The Bobcats are also on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com and go Bobcats. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bearcats every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time with student athletes, coaches, administration, and alumni joining the show. And of course, you can connect with your Bearcats by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt for the entire inventory of shows. You could see them all by clicking subscribe, hitting the notification bell, and finding our Binghamton playlist. The Bearcats are also on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to binghamtonbearcats.com and go Bearcats. The Onondaga Community College Lasers are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your lasers every other Wednesday on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You can see them this upcoming Wednesday. Well, we're going to see them a few times here in the next few weeks. When every other Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, you will find the Onondaga Community College Lasers in what we call the Laser Lounge. And you can find all of our content by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our OCC playlist. The Lasers are also on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to onondagalazers.com and go Lasers. I want to thank you all once again for being a part of the show from the Travel Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Once again, go to Great Lakes Honda City on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. You can go online to greatlakeshondacity.com, shop their new and used vehicles, and you can buy and lease from Great Lakes Honda City, who I've been with for over a decade, and I cannot thank them enough for all the vehicles that they have not only given to me, but also to my family. Find us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT. You can continue to vote in our game day poll of who you think is going to win between Indiana and Miami by going to X, the former Twitter, at CallDT, and we're on Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. For now, from the Great Lakes Honda City Studios and this special broadcast from Miami, Florida, for the College Football Playoff game day in the 2026 National Championship, I say, God bless, no stress, do your best. We'll talk soon.